Let's roll, rolling at the thug. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas thug. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas thug, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas thug, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.
Yo, yo. I love that intro.
It's beautiful.
Jar openers. It cracks me up. I love it. Gets me a little hyped up to go. So,
Yes, sir.
last podcast, last episode show before the election. So we got just a couple days left until we'll know who the next president of the United States is going to be. Well, I mean, we're supposed to know, right? But welcome into episode 11 of the Jar Openers podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, and you want to let them know who you are?
Yes, I'm Atlas Thug, the Christian nationalist, quickly becoming a revolutionary, and number one Kansas City Chiefs hater.
Hey, you back off. Back off here.
I gotta say it. We're going to the Chargers game tomorrow.
That's pretty awesome. I wish I was in town where I could go to Chiefs games and Royals games, but I'm about 1,200 miles away to dox myself. It's pretty wide. Pretty wide.
Map that out from Kansas City. Like,
Yeah.
where could he be?
So, anyways, yeah, I gotta say we're not really here to talk football, but they made a couple moves, made a couple moves the last couple of weeks. Got D-Hop and just signed a new pass rusher. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but I think he's going to be a nice fit for the defense. So I don't know. Look out. Although we got another he wasn't a wide receiver. We had a tight end go down this week. He's out for the season, our third stringer, but you know, we're hurting. We're hurting in that receiving category. Anyways, hey Dave, hey TNT Cycles, D-Trix, DT Ricks. Sorry if I say your name wrong. It's nice to see you guys. Appreciate everybody being here. We're going to start off tonight simply with it's a short little segment, but you might have seen, if you haven't, this is really fun, that Joe Biden did a speech. And apparently, let's just go ahead and let him speak for himself. You know, I don't want to speak for the old Presidente. Let's blow this up here. And this is 4 seconds, so be ready, because you might miss it.
But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass. But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
So apparently Biden says Republicans like Trump are the kind of guys you'd like to smack in the ass. You gotta love his face too.
You should just freeze it on that 4 second there. It's very disturbing.
My gosh, I'm sorry. It's great content watching me laugh, but holy smokes, look at that face. This guy, he's the leader of the free world. Oh man, I gotta move a monitor here.
Yeah, supposedly the free leader.
Yeah. Smokes, man. So the big story of the day, I guess we'll move on to the big story of the day. That is, rest in peace, Peanut. Actually don't like this story, but it's the and everybody doesn't like this story, I'm sure, honestly, but it's the news, it's the the talk of the town here on X. We'll start off with this post from Colin Rugg. The owner of Peanut the squirrel explains how New York officials raided his house and took Peanut and his raccoon and dispatched them, right? Which is pretty crazy. They're so concerned about this individual having a pet squirrel and raccoon, which I believe he rescued. But they're not worried about open borders or any of the other things that are going on. So it's I mean, it's pretty insane, to be honest with you. Let's see here. Well, I don't need to read all the quotes, but it does say 7-year-old Peanut and Fred the raccoon were euthanized after anonymous complaints. And we'll play this little story here. It's probably going to get us demonetized right off the bat, but it is what it is. Every single one of these streams, YouTube does the YouTube thing and make sure that we can't get any ad revenue out of it. So
banned.
Yeah, I can see it as TMZ, but we're in the corner. This is fair use. We're adding commentary and we're telling the story that is the the main talk of the town, like I said. So let's go ahead and play this little clip.
We just learned that they have euthanized Peanut.
And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat outside my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like a criminal. After they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status, then proceeded to ask me if I had cameras in my house, then proceeded to go through every cabinet, nook, and cranny of my house for a squirrel and a raccoon.
They got a search warrant?
It's crazy.
They got a search warrant. 4 departments
It's
and
heartbreaking.
a judge signed off on a search warrant for a squirrel and a raccoon. And then they took them and killed them.
Why did they go through all that to get a search warrant for an animal that had been with you very safely, and the world witnessed this for 7 years? Why now suddenly did they show up with a search warrant and take these animals?
We haven't a clue. We don't know who made the complaints. Again, Peanut was an indoor squirrel, not harming anybody. He's been with us for 7 years. Not a single complaint was ever filed for this animal. We had him for 7.5 years. He became the world's most famous squirrel. We weren't hiding him by any means. He was all over TikTok. He became the first squirrel on TikTok to ever hit 1 million followers. He did every news station around the world. He's helped people. He's helped kids gather joy. And then we started a nonprofit animal rescue called Peanut's Freedom Farm to help animals like Peanut fight a good fight when they're in a neglected case or they're sitting in a slaughter auction. And he was the cornerstone of our life and our organization. We used his platform to help raise money for the 300 animals we have at our sanctuary.
Just a shame, really. Like I said originally, why don't they have anything better to do? Like, I see this comment here from Sean Graham. Squirrels will become huge pets after this. How do I invest in squirrel pet accessories? I mean, it's so true, right? It really is. I think there's the backlash, or the reaction, I should say, not really the backlash, but the reaction is folks are going to be like, hey, having a pet squirrel kind of looks cool the way he jumped off that bridge. And I'll tell you the truth. I know a person, maybe a guy, maybe a girl, maybe in my town, maybe on the other side of the world that has a pet squirrel, and it's cool. I like seeing the Snapchat and stuff like that. They take it outside. They let it dig around in a little box garden and stuff like that, and it's a lively little thing, and it's cool. And he saved it, rescued it, or she saved it and rescued it. But it's just crazy. It's just really crazy, and
Most overall, it's sad. It's super sad. I guess I get two bad feelings when I look at this, right? The first one is exactly what you said, which is like they have nothing better to do. They send out this whole unit to take care of this because anonymous complaints. People have already posted the individual who's in charge of whatever authority there in New York that went and did this. But I guess the bigger thing with me that kind of like at least kind of sticks with me when I see something like this is the kind of lack of reaction that we get when things actually happen to human beings, like in the same kind of light. Now, maybe it's more so because a squirrel is a bit easier to rally around and there's way less politics to go inside of that. It's a lot easier for everyone to kind of see that it's wrong, and it is wrong.
Mhm.
But it is just a bit unfortunate when you kind of compare the reaction you'll get to something like this compared to the Forsaken, I guess, abortion issue. And not to
Yeah.
take it to too many places, but the one thing I do kind of agree with is I do get lefty vibes from TNT Cycles, and I'm not sure even if World's aware of this. We didn't talk about it in the green room at all. These individuals are like OnlyFans content creators, so there's like
Are
an
they?
extra, yeah. So there's an extra level of like kind of weirdness that goes along in the story, and not to say that you shouldn't feel bad because someone's an OnlyFans content creator, because everybody makes mistakes, and everyone sins, but it's there's so much with it, and I even wrote this in my description before we did this, where there's, like, not an October surprise, at least not one that's been major in my opinion,
Mhm.
but are we gonna get this, like, in the 4th quarter, a November surprise of Peanut the Squirrel, where everyone can kinda look at it and be like, "Yeah, these Democratic ran cities and these officials, this bloat, like, let's just be done with this." Like, this stuff is disgusting.
Yeah.
How will we get out of here with that? And even like it ignites my original libertarian political vibes, which is like a cab, right? Like I won't say the full thing out, but like there's a certain part of me that I feel the majority of the way that policing is ran in this country is just so overtly filled with cowards, and it has a lot of men in it that lack self-agency to be like, what are we doing here? Right? There wasn't one guy involved in this that just thought like, why are we doing this to these people? Is that all
Right.
it takes is anonymous complaints to raid somebody's home? And so I have a lot of thoughts on this, but hopefully it
Well,
does, do well in Trump's favor for the election.
yeah. Well, it reminds me of what Michael Malice says. I've heard him have multiple conversations, but one in particular, from probably 2 years ago when he was on Tim Cast IRL, which the cat's kind of out of the bag now. So, um, well, never mind. Anyways, Michael Malice, who I'm not sure. Do you know where he's from exactly?
He's
He
an
was
East Coast
speaking.
guy, I'm pretty sure.
Is he was he born in the United States, or is his heritage different
His
country?
heritage is oh my gosh, it's if it's not Russian, it's like Polish, I believe. And so his
Okay,
family's like very, very like closely tied to the Cold War situation,
okay, that's
and like a lot of like issues from like starvation and things like that. So he's pretty closely tied to that.
okay. Okay, that makes sense. That's because he refers to almost like a firsthand experience where um police will just hide behind the excuse of I was just following orders, and that's just to your point there a little bit. I'm obviously, well, I say obviously, but I'm pro police, pro law and order, but there has to be some discernment, some discretion that an individual uses when they're ordered to do something as heinous as steal somebody's pets and do what they did, essentially, in my opinion. Um, and to be honest, I'll tell you a little bit of experience that I've learned from my friend who has the pet squirrel. They're not easy to take care of. You have to do a lot of things, and uh, it's not just like a dog. You don't just give them food and water. If you don't feed them properly, if you don't give them the proper things to chew on, their teeth will overgrow and they'll literally like bite through their own brain or something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but their teeth will overgrow and they can kill themselves basically from it.
Interesting.
And so there's a lot of little things that go to Pastor Huckleberry. I eat squirrel. I've never had it, but one of my favorite guys, Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty, swears by it. So, um,
Yeah, I've had it as well. It's pretty solid.
really, okay, well,
Mhm.
interesting. I know they're annoying when you're sitting in a tree stand.
When I had it was very hairy. I don't think we did a very good job of cleaning it out or cleaning it up, but I have had it before, and it is the definition of gamey.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hi, Jamie. Hi. Saw a couple other people pop in there. I didn't want to leave you guys out. Who was it? Sorry, I'm making mouth noises. That was really loud in my own ear. Chris, Jamie, Anita. I saw somebody else then said what it do. I put it on the screen, but I don't see it anymore. My eyes are going right past it. Anyways, if I missed you, I apologize. Glad to have you guys here.
Definitely.
And then let's see. This could all be fake. As far as I know, this girl could still be alive. OnlyFans stunt. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, I know TMZ is super lefty as well, but regardless, the right seems to be using this as a type of rallying call. I mean, the reaction has been pretty huge. It's crazy.
Yeah, it reminds me of Harambe. It kind of gives me those vibes, especially in like a very high leverage moment. Now the issue with Harambe, right, was like a bit more egregious because like a zoo instance where like
Yeah.
I think a kid fell over like the railing or like he was let in somehow, and then that caused the issue to happen. This was like unprovoked, right? This was like, I don't like that this person has a squirrel. Like, and it makes me even think like it was an inside squirrel. Was it because they had a neighbor that like didn't like that he made videos of the squirrel, so they like spammed or mass reported him to the police, and then this situation came? It's
Haters.
like, yeah, like at that point, it's like, dude, that's actually aggressive. And it's not even just Peanut too. There's also, what was it?
Oh,
The raccoon. It was named Fred. I think is his
yeah, I
name.
think so. I didn't actually, I kind of avoided this story up until the show. I kind of wanted to discover it along with everybody else as we told the story. So yeah, I just found out. I realized that that was a case too. Chris told me to check Discord messages, so I'm checking that while we talk. Sorry, I checked it
Oh,
on
you're
my
fine.
phone. Now I want to actually show you guys this if I can.
I think if anything, though,
Oh, I got
it all goes in Trump's favor, especially when you look at the makeup of the New York government being majority Democrat here, Democrat official there. It's like that's the people you're going to point to. And like I said earlier, all over X, they've been essentially not doxing the guy, but his face has been shown. The person who gave the order, and I'm not even sure what department it was that gave the order, but there's some guy who gets paid like six figures to, I guess, do this to animals. But meanwhile, they have like a rat infestation of over like a population of like 3 point some million rats in a small urban area. It's just aggressive.
Yeah, that is crazy. Chris sent me this.
Yeah.
My plans for the day: going full autistic over a squirrel. Exactly. But you know what? If they want to use this as another example of what the left, what the police state, I guess. I don't know, is it the police state? This was in New York, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, figures. What they're concerned about, right? I mean, like we've referred to multiple weeks, that they're paying for housing for illegals to stay in 5-star hotels and paying for their health care and all this stuff. But then they want to concern themselves with some dude's pet squirrel who's part of a rescue project. I mean, it's not like the dude was trying to hide the squirrel and the squirrel had rabies or something like that. I mean, like he said, he's got his own TikTok and first squirrel to get 1 million views and stuff like that, which kind of makes me jealous of a squirrel now all of a sudden. But
Well, it makes you think too, like if he had it from like a rescue project and he has all these other animals, he probably knows and has all of like the right licensing or whatever you might need to be able to operate something like that, as well as being overtly public with it by having like this, viral TikTok page where he like does all these stunts with it and he posts it all the time. Like he wasn't hiding it in any way.
yeah,
It just makes me think, what grounds do they even have to do this outside of someone complaining that it was there?
yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine a neighbor being like annoyed by it because pretty much seems like, I mean, every neighborhood I've lived in, there's been wild squirrels. So like, just hate
Yeah.
that particular one. Got to get rid of it.
Well,
Story
just
will
like
get
we
bigger
saw
and
last
bigger. Yeah, I
week,
agree, Sean. I think we'll probably hear a lot more about it tomorrow.
we saw that video of the neighbor who literally like rang on the doorbell and screamed at that person's face because of a Trump sign. So
Oh
like we're
yeah,
getting to the point where people are just like, they're so delusional, we've left we've left reality, right? Like expect anything.
Right. Exactly. This is the other thing. Chris sent me. I had to share it because we shared the Freedom Tunes cartoon last week. Or was it 2 weeks ago already? It was 2 weeks ago.
I think so, yeah.
He went off and did the face. That proves it. We're living in a simulation.
Well, I mean, if anything, I don't think it's simulation. I think it's just like that cartoon was so accurate. The thing was just very accurate cartoon.
For real. It's like Freedom Tunes is going to be the next Simpsons and South Park as it comes to predictions.
Well, it's funny enough, and I'm sure you
See,
saw
man, you're
this
cracking
too.
me up. No wonder Willie liked much.
Regarding one of these rallies with Kamala Harris, I don't know if you saw the Cardi B stunt, but that was
Yeah.
also just pathetically sad. They're just standing there waiting for someone to hand her a phone because the teleprompter goes out, so she needs it to like. She has nothing to say on her own. It's
Yeah.
just like, dude.
I didn't even see that. I just saw that. Well, actually, you know what? I have that in here.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I might have attached it in the news of the day here.
I got some fun stuff I'm going to show you guys here in a second too. Since it's the week after Halloween, got some cool little costumes that kids have on and stuff like that. I wanted to show. I thought it was pretty funny. Got a kick out of it. So the one that you had, did it start from like this point, or was it actually?
It starts from
longer?
even before then. It shows
Okay.
all the awkwardness. Let me actually, I have it right here
Okay.
because it's the viral one.
Okay.
The viral one. I can pronounce my words.
I don't know if Cardi B was a friend of Diddy's like all the other celebrity endorsers, but I mean, you just kind of think that it seems like Diddy kind of came one of the gateways into fame in that genre. So it wouldn't surprise me if she was.
Well, I think that's been the common theme here, right? There's all of these celebrities who are endorsing Kamala seem to be the ones who are also closely linked with that story. Plus, it's kind of curious too, because once again, it follows in the steps of Jeffrey Epstein, where we have all of this information. It's like it's about to drop, and then silence falls out of the news cycle. No one's talking about it anymore. It's just kind of crazy. But I'll make sure the volume is okay here. We'll pull it down a little bit. And this is it's super awkward. So it's going to go up to the point where someone actually runs out onto this podium and hands her this phone.
Yeah, I haven't seen the full version. I just saw the short one.
1 second, guys. 1 second.
Just, you got nothing to say. Teleprompter goes out. And she's just like, I'll stand here and wait. Like,
Okay. So I don't take lightly the call. Sorry, guys. I'm a little nervous.
She's nervous. Lying.
Waiting for this moment my whole life. My whole life.
Now Google's trying to update. Of course.
Be
That's
patient,
probably why
okay?
my internet's slow.
Patience,
makes
where
sense.
are you, girl? I need patience over here.
Oh my goodness. You could turn that up a little bit, I think, too, from my perspective.
I got you.
Hold on. How you guys doing tonight? How you guys doing tonight? Are we ready to make history?
Just sing a song.
Are we ready to make history? Are we ready to change these 4 years? No. Are we ready to change the next 8 years? Because we're going to make sure we have Kamala Harris in office for 8 years.
Yeah, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it goes all the way up to the point where she gets the phone handed to her, so she can keep going on with with her speech.
Oh, okay, well,
And
that's the
like,
part that I have. So let me scroll back down and I'll
yeah,
put
with the one
that
that you
on
got.
so we can hear her actually read.
Pain.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't she actually kind of seemingly becoming more and more of a Trump fan over the last like year of his presidency or whatever? Like,
Yeah,
I
but like
could
you
be
said,
wrong.
Diddy got caught, so yeah, that changed everything.
Right. Okay, so let me do the volume here. Let's turn it all the way down. All right, here. Let's listen to her read now that she's got it on her phone.
I believe in every word that comes out of her mouth. She's passionate, she's compassionate, she shows empathy, and most of all, she is not delusional.
Oh, now that you said it, we believe you. Guys,
The
she
very
is
first
not
line.
delusional most of all. I mean, that's the main thing.
Like she believes every word that comes out of her mouth. Man, dude, that got me so good.
Yeah. Kamala recognized that this country is at risk.
It's
That the
Kamala.
economy needs to get stronger, that the cost of food and the cost of living is too high. Damn, it's even high for me.
I'm rich, bitch.
I believe her when she says, under her, buying eggs and milk won't break the bank. Because she's gonna pass a ban on price gouging on groceries. And she told me that in my face. So she better not lie to me in my face. I believe in every word that comes out of her mouth.
She better not lie to
Dude,
her
like-
face because she's gonna come and get her, I guess.
Imagine saying you believe every word that comes out of a politician's mouth, let alone a career politician.
Yeah, for real. One that fails
Man.
upwards in an upwards trajectory while not actually being able to articulate a sentence. Sean asked, "What's the Diddy party? Just weird sex stuff." It depends on what layer. There's the Diddy parties, then there's the after parties, and then apparently there's the after parties, and that's where the crazy stuff comes in. Apparently there was like semi truckloads worth of toys and lube confiscated during the raids. So I mean, I don't know. It's kind of use your imagination at that point.
Well, if Sean, I would imagine most people here probably are familiar with the operation that Epstein ran. And so Epstein was more like the political realm of running this, and it's like a blackmail operation. Diddy was like the Hollywood wing of this. So, you know, two birds of the same, or two wings of the same bird, generally what people have been concluding. So essentially just done in a way, you know, we have multiple leaks. The most, I think, prolific one is the Meek Mill one, along with the Justin Bieber one too.
Yeah.
But there are leaks from like security guards who have said they've recorded firsthand footage of like Diddy,
famous people.
I'm losing the right words because I don't want to get anything inflicted on YouTube.
Right, just
but doing things
famous
against
people,
people's will.
Yeah, that and famous people willingly doing things who wouldn't necessarily want their reputation to include being gay. You know what I mean? Things like that as well, I think. But it's a lot of blackmail type of stuff, I think, and people in precarious situations.
Yeah, and essentially really honestly being drugged to the point where you have no idea what's happening. And so you really can't give consent in those situations.
Yeah, that's true too. Let's see here. But let's see what else we got here. I wanted to share this real quick. I thought this was kind of cool. Ron Paul's been kind of in the news a little bit. First of all, he hit 1 million followers there on X, which I that was kind of a little late. You think that he'd have gone past 1 million by now, but he came out and asked for it and got it pretty quickly. And then what's the deal? He was asked, or I don't know if he was formally asked, like, or if it was just like floated out there by Elon Musk, but something about Ron Paul. I think he actually offered to help Elon Musk run that like organization of the government, the
Doge. It was like the Department of Government Efficiency, I believe is what it was.
Yeah. It would be what Elon has been kind of what they've been accusing him, or not accusing him, but speculating that Trump might hire him for, which is to come in and basically fire everybody like he did with X and make it more efficient, like he did with X as well. I mean, I think he fired like 75% of the people, and X is better than it ever has been with a 25% of the workforce. I mean, just talk about dropping dead weight. No.
You remember when he did the stunt where he fired I remember the one name, I can't remember the other guy's name, but it was Ligma Johnson, and then I can't remember what the other guy's name was. And it was like a stunt.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because people were mad that he was firing all of the people.
Yeah. For
He's
real.
a funny guy, man.
For real. And then Just going out my Twitter. I kind of retweeted a few things that I just wanted to share. I thought would be cool. I want to share this kid. It's Halloween, so we had a lot of cool little costumes and stuff like that. But I thought this kid did a good Trump impersonation, so I wanted to share this one. Just having a little fun right now before we get back into some more serious topics. You might have seen this one, but this was good.
No, I haven't seen this
Happy
one.
Halloween, everybody. I love it. We're going to have an amazing Halloween. We're going to make a lot of candy, more candy than ever before. We're going to have better jobs, better economy, lower gas prices.
It's good.
But if you don't have any brain cells, obviously, or common sense, you're voting for Kamala Harris. No one likes Kamala and Tampon Tim. But you already know November 5th, vote for me. It's going to be phenomenal. Like I said, have an amazing Halloween. Make a lot of candy. Get a lot of candy, okay? It's going to be phenomenal. Be nice to people. And we're going to make this phenomenal. The best one we've ever seen in 30 years, okay? Bye.
That's a nice refrigerator, too. Look at that fridge, man.
Yeah, smart fridge. Probably talks to you, too.
Yeah, probably touchscreen and everything. But I thought that kid did a good job. What do y'all think? We got one more. I think it's one more. I wanted to actually go over those two at some point. Oh, is it one more? Yeah, it's one more. This one right here. This one's good. If you haven't seen, Hulk Hogan has been, endorsing Trump lately. Let me take the banner down. He's been endorsing Trump lately, and this kid does an excellent job portraying that stance. So,
hey Ro, tell Miss Carnes who you are for Halloween.
The mustache is cool.
When they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
That's good stuff.
And then he punched
the
camera and got spanked. I know, right? It's like, I didn't ask you to punch my phone. What are you doing? Good stuff. Good stuff. I don't want to dwell on the whole Diddy thing, you guys. I mean, it's one of those touchy subjects for YouTube, and so just kind of give you the bare minimum breakdown on that one. But yeah, don't forget to smash that like button, you guys. Share this video if you enjoyed the show. This is episode 11, and I think I'm having a lot more fun with it and less nervous than when we first started. I can say that much. But anyways. Yeah, sorry, Sean. I'd like to go more in detail, but it's just one of those things that it's pretty dark stuff, man. It's super dark stuff. I mean, I don't know if this is 100%, but I'm pretty sure that when they raided his house, they found tunnels going underneath his house to neighbors, and he apparently lives across from a big port where they, bring containers in and out of the country or something. And there's just it's a big rabbit hole, and a lot of it's still speculation, but
if you want to know more, I'd recommend following Ian Carroll on X. He follows this kind of stuff very, very closely. So if you want to follow somebody who's like actually doing research on things, Ian Carroll on X is somebody who's breaks stuff down.
Yeah. He's definitely a good follow. He breaks a lot of good stuff down too. Something I referred to in the past was the Vegas event, which is crazy. I mean, we could probably show that, but I don't know if we could, to be honest. But I'd like to show that. I think it's amazing what everything that happened that day. That's just beyond the scope of the news.
Yeah, that one's the whole video where you'd have to go. Yeah, in Minecraft this happened. In GTA when this happened.
Right. On the open world map, multiple casinos reported pew-pews in the lobby and all the way down the street and this and that. And yeah, it's just like, what? I've never heard that. It's crazy, but there's like live map of it where it's all mapped out and helicopters and the whole different thing. So yeah, allegedly in a game.
Yeah. in a different universe, far, far away.
Right. Saw this post here from Scott Pressler, the Persistence. He's the guy that's been heading up getting Republicans registered in Pennsylvania for probably he's been going hardcore daily for at least 6 months. I mean, he moved there literally so he can help with this this particular this job that he's doing. This attempt.
Ballot harvesting, essentially, really.
Yeah, it's getting Republicans registered to vote. He was able to flip a couple of counties red that have been historically blue, but he posted this morning, and I just wanted to share this because we should all have Scott Pressler in our prayers because the dude is going on no energy at this point. I mean, since the election actually started, early voting and stuff like that, he's really been like just on top of everything there in Pennsylvania. And so he said, don't think I've ever been tired. Sorry, let me start that over. Don't think I've ever been so tired in my entire life. Can't stop yawning after an entire day monitoring Bucks County voting locations. I'm on the way to my hotel, then off to another location, not stopping or slowing down for a gosh darn second. Coffee, conditioner, and repeat. And so the guy is going really hard to try to win Pennsylvania over for Trump. And you know, frankly, a lot of people believe, and I'm right there with them, that if Trump wins Pennsylvania, he's got this one. So we'll have Scott Pressler to thank. Really, I mean, that's just the way it is. So I wanted to share that just to say thank you and to also ask you guys to keep him in prayers. What do we have next? Let's see. RFK announces he will advise Trump to ban big pharma ads. Yeah, let's check that out because I think big pharma's it's illegal for big pharma to advertise in a lot of these other countries.
I wonder if it got deleted. Let me try pulling it up.
I just had to refresh it.
Oh, right. Okay.
But,
yeah, not a video, but it was an announcement. Because I don't know, did you end up watching the JD Vance and Joe Rogan interview?
I haven't.
So they actually got into a deeper discussion about an hour in talking about doing just this. And so I think JD Vance kind of made a promise to Rogan. He was like, you know what, while we're talking about this, let me make a note and let me make a promise to you that I'll see. I don't know who he said he was going to talk to, like one of his upline people, to see if that's something that they can tackle. Because they were talking about how, you're watching a football game and then it's like every commercial is like, this stereotypical mold.
It's
of
so
like,
bad.
Some pro medication, and the side effect is suicide ideation and like all these other kinds of things that are just like, whoa, this is kind of a little bit much.
Right. They try to blow over the side effects real fast with the guy that speaks like the Micro Machines dude used to.
The higher auctioneers.
I see Dietrich's said, do you think the reason every time I put my mouse over it, it goes away. So do you think the reason Croak's parents didn't come out and defend him is because they know what happened to the brother of the Vegas pew-pewer? I gotta admit, I don't know what happened to that brother. I'm assuming something not good, but I will just tell you why I think that the parents didn't come out and defend him was because they're wanting to stay away from it. They're like, they're both like psychologists or whatever, and there's it's all alleged or whatever, but you would just think that if your son is a crazy enough to do what he did, the psychologist parents would have had a bit of a clue, right? And so I think it's self-preservation from the law, as well as maybe where's happening to him. But go ahead and tell me what happened to the brother.
Yeah, so the brother, man, this was a crazy story. It's been a while, so I could be misordering them. But as far as I understand, someone actually got to him. I can't remember what outlet got to him. Went out and actually interviewed him.
Clinton.
And yeah. So he got interviewed by some group, and the guy was like saying all these kind of weird things that didn't line up with the actual story of like what occurred. I believe he was even saying things to the point where like I haven't talked to him in like how long, and like we all had kind of like these he was like fine or something along the lines of like this guy was completely fine, he did this and this, and so things just didn't match up. And then it was like within a month they had found his brother, and he was exactly as Dietrich said, he was Clinton. So it's super, super weird. And to even kind of connect that to the story with the with what's his name, Thomas Crooks. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't even realize the fact that by the time that officials had gotten to Crooks's home, it was scrubbed. I mean, they even brought this
Oh
up on the
yeah,
Rogan interview as well, where there wasn't even like silverware in the house.
yeah,
Anything that kind of could have had any kind of like actual, real kind of DNA
like
connections or
DNA
everything
residue, right?
gone, completely gone and out of the house. So it was definitely an operation. I think anyone saying otherwise at this point is either lying to you or they just don't, they're ignorant.
Crazy, crazy. So I'm looking at our next story here. We're kind of just blowing through different headlines that happened this week, really. And this one's interesting. And I didn't hear this. I don't know how I'd missed something like this, but it's from yesterday. Breaking: the United States has announced an additional 425 million in military aid to Ukraine. I mean, so what
That
else is new? My goodness.
it's just sad, man. It
Yeah.
just here we are again.
Yeah. For
That's even
real.
what I labeled it. I
Fancy.
said, you guessed it.
Yeah, you sure did. That's hilarious. I mean, you guys are saying it in the chat. You're taking the words out of my mouth. Really. I mean, seriously. What are they doing? Like, I don't know. I wish it was broke down into a better an actual breakdown. Show me an invoice or something. I mean, if the if the IRS were involved with this, they'd be needing receipts and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? But instead, when it comes to just forking over 425 million in military aid, and I don't care if it creates jobs for Americans building, like, because they like to use this excuse. Well, the more we give, we're helping military, we're helping jobs because we're building these weapons to send over there. And it's like, you know what? We can find better jobs. We can find better jobs. It's not like it's the only way to do it, right?
Yeah, well, then it builds jobs in a specific industry, which is the military industrial complex, which is also another entire beast that we don't want to keep feeding, I guess, for lack of better words. And it's just, it's sad because we all understand what purpose it's for, right? We're building weapons to be able to be used in other areas so that we can have the things that we have in America, but it's only for a select few, right? Like how many individuals do you know own a share in like oh my gosh. Well, I'm
Uh,
losing the names of like
Was it
different organizations.
Halliburton and
Yeah,
yeah, like
Lockheed Martin,
yeah,
different
thank you.
ones like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the military industrial complex, basically. Yeah, and it is weird how little news on Trump shooters. They want that to go away as fast as possible so that you know, it's just it's just the way that it is. The longer that news is out there, the more people are reminded of it, the more people are motivated to vote for Trump. So, they tried to, I mean, CNN and some of these, MSNBC, they tried to basically belittle it and say that he faked, the blood and he had a razor on in his hand and cut his ear. And, they try to play it down like immediately. And it's just so despicable. But I saw Cool Vic. Cool Vic's a guy that I know here. He's on one of my teams. Nice to have you here, dude. He's actually a content creator, so you might go check out his channel as well. He's in the
Yeah, we
conservative
appreciate it,
space.
brother.
But yeah, nice to have you here, man. Appreciate the compliment. Then let's see. Yeah, it is a good point there, Sean. What we got next?
We've quite a bit, this kind of week was kind of insane. So when I was organizing a lot of this stuff to put in here, I kind of just started just dumping as much as I could because there's just so much happening all at once, which is kind of to
Right.
be expected in the final days leading up to the election.
Right. I mean, we got the one big thing that we'll probably get to here in a little bit, which is the other main thing that they've been saying. Yeah, it is. It's actually right after this one. We skipped ahead and did the Cardi B. Let's see, what's this one?
Oh, the election monitors from the Department of Justice have been banned from 3 states. It was like Texas, Florida, and Missouri.
Interesting.
And even put there, if you read the comments as well, the overwhelming response to that was most people recognizing the DOJ to be essentially just an apparatus or apparatchik, either or, of the Democratic Party, which is people are like, yeah, get them out. There's Gunther Eagleman. He's one of the top reply guys who exists in the political sphere on the right. And it's just that's essentially what it is, right? They end up taking over and doing weird things and trying to impose their own rules over for the counties. And it's like, we don't need you here, man. Like, you can go on and get out of here.
Right.
But it's only 3 states, though. It's not like it's an overwhelming majority of them.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how it is in a republic. The states are supposed to be able to run their own. I mean, that's why it's not just blanket rules for every state. They all kind of have their own little aspect of how they run the election or whatever. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we really don't need the feds running our elections. That's for sure.
Yeah, you might be surprised to see that Missouri's on there as well. But the Missouri
That's what
Attorney
Jamie
General.
just said. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. The Missouri Attorney General is someone who did like a couple recent tours on podcast, Tim Pool and specifically.
Oh, I
Because
love
you
that
probably
guy.
remember this as well, where they were talking about how they were doing it was like the registration numbers when they were there's a specific name for it, but they're essentially like shuffling through the registrations to double check them. And that's when they were seeing that in a matter of a day, like a few days, like this many like dead individuals were like being registered. It was like 23,000 in like 2 days or something like that. So Missouri AG was the one who was kind of being vocal about that. So it looks good for Missouri to have somebody in power who's going to be able to take things over like that.
Yeah, and I've been telling some of my friends back home about him. I can't think of his name right now, but he needs to be reelected. That dude is Andrew Bailey. Andrew Bailey is his name, and he was heading up the prosecution or the lawsuit, I should say, against Letitia James for bringing the case against Donald Trump, which took away Donald Trump's right to free speech. And Andrew Bailey's argument was when they took away Donald Trump's right to free speech to talk about the prosecution that was going on against him, they essentially took away, because he represents Missouri, but it applies to everybody in the country, took away Missourians' right to hear Donald Trump's free speech. And so I think that went up to the Supreme Court, and I want to say Letitia James tried to fight. I can't remember exactly what happened. It's been like a month and a half now, but I think the Supreme Court kicked it back, and I don't want to say for sure. I wish I actually knew that. I didn't think ahead that we would get into that, but yeah. Regardless, he's out there fighting the good fight, and he definitely needs to be reelected. That's for sure.
What's wild too is I'm pretty sure that he wasn't even like elected initially. Like it was like some kind of case took out the person ahead of him, and he ended up being like appointed. So he was actually one of these where he just kind of fell into a good spot.
Yeah.
And like I think that's, if anything, that speaks to like the way everything kind of happens for a reason.
Well, he explained how that happened on Timcast IRL, and that it had to do with, I want to say, it had to do with the fact that Missouri flipped red, and the laws that his predecessors had implemented basically gave Republicans that were taking over more abilities to maneuver within the laws that the Democrats had actually set in place. So it was kind of a double-edged sword there against the Democrats.
Interesting. It's probably appointed by committee, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. I hope Jamie's right. She said he's getting reelected. I hope so, because I like that guy. He's doing a lot of good things. I actually follow him on X, and I haven't seen him post recently, but you know how X is. It's fickle. Sometimes it shows you the most recent things you liked or whatever. So go over there and like my stuff. I'm tired of getting 12 impressions. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. I feel it.
Yeah. Let's see here. Did we miss anything? I saw Dietrich asked or said, glad to see the plastic crying doll of the Democratic Party, Jimmy Kimmel, is possibly losing everything for telling Trump voters to vote late. Yeah, and he should. I don't want to play the video because I know I probably shouldn't care because every single one of these streams, like I said, just instantly gets demonetized. But he basically he came out and said the election's on Wednesday or Thursday or go ahead and vote Friday, like type of thing after the election. Yep. And there's a dude that was a conservative that actually got arrested, and I think he might even got thrown in jail for doing the same thing. But he just posted it on X, I think was where that came from. But Jimmy
Yeah,
Kimmel says it on
was,
his show
what
live.
was it?
You know, I should
It
just
was like the Hillary Clinton meme or something like that. It came in like super late, and it was him like, "Yeah, call this number if you want to vote." Something. It was something along those lines, and it was like obviously a fake number. But I think
wow.
they prosecuted him like 12 years later. It was like not even the 2020
It
election.
was from 2016 or
Like,
something.
yeah,
Goodness. Yeah. I mean, shows the overreach, the things that they care about, right? It's pretty crazy.
exactly. Yeah, squirrels and memes.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't see many raccoon clips. Jimmy Kimmel sucks. Yeah, he does. Let's see here. Next, we're gonna move on to this is the big one. The Democrats are running with right now. Close some of these down. I don't know why, but I'm operating on like thin wire when it comes to my available internet. So if I drop, I'll be back as soon as possible. But Alice will be able to take over if that happens.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can share some of these if you want me to. If you think it'd be easier.
Maybe if you want to set up the next one, then we can go back and forth.
Yeah, you
It
got
was
the
Twitter at
personal
that
one
time.
here. Oh yeah, I got you. So I'll get the full quote with the context here. I'll load it up.
All right. Just you said it was Twitter at the time. Yes, 2016 election. It was very obvious meme two-tier justice. Yeah, it was Twitter at the time, not X. That was pre Elon. Which it's crazy. I thought it was dumb that he went and renamed it, but he when he renamed it, he kind of was able to draw a distinct line between the old guard and the new guard, which actually I think is pretty good. Just goes to show how forward thinking that dude is. But I see Cool Vic, by the way, just followed you on X. Hey, thanks, man. That's cool. I saw the notification pop up for something, so I'm always tempted to click on it, but then I don't want to do it on live. So now I know what that notification is. Thank you. I'll follow you back whenever I can when the stream's over, or whenever he's actually got his screen share on. But let's play this clip from CNN. And in the meantime, while this is playing, I'm actually going to look up that Jimmy Kimmel clip because I do want to show that. You guys probably want to see it. What I was doing.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess we should provide context for this first.
Oh, you want to? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're totally fine. This is so you can read the caption there. So CNN's claiming that Trump wants to execute Liz Cheney, and so yes. Trump essentially, forgive me, was giving a speech, and he was talking with, I believe, Tucker Carlson, and he was kind of saying essentially that about the consequences of the war hawks that we've had as leaders. And so he's essentially kind of talking, these people in these positions probably wouldn't make these decisions if they were also faced with the consequences essentially of the people who were being sent to do such things. And so it's in the context of the warfare, the sending Americans overseas, being involved in all this foreign stuff, and essentially all for personal gain for the people at the top. And that's where the context is. And so they take a clip from what Trump said, and now they're essentially trying to substantiate this. And an attorney general somewhere is trying to do this, where he's suing on the grounds that Trump violated his parole from his felony. And so now that to substantiate a death threat, that he actually tried to threaten Liz Cheney with a threat of death. And so it's the CNN and the media, mainstream media, doing its tried and true method, which is taking things out of context and extrapolating the truth as much as they possibly can.
Right. And I saw this. I'm trying to find it on my phone here actually real quick. Gonna suck up more internet from my computer. Hey, look, I gained a bar when I did that. Who'd have thought? But
Yeah,
I saw
Beautiful.
a response. Nice. I saw a response here. If I can find it, we'll share that too. But here, while this is playing, we'll play this, and while this is playing, I'll see if I can find the response. Because the response was from Bill Maher, which I found interesting. Because that dude either rolls a 0, but sometimes he'll roll a 20.
I don't think you even need to call it firearm. He's saying quite explicitly and unambiguously that Liz Cheney should be shot, should be executed by firing squad.
4 days out from Election Day, and former President Donald Trump is escalating his violent rhetoric, suggesting one of his most prominent critics, the former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, should be fired upon.
Reaction to what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it was completely inappropriate, dangerous, and unbecoming of a leader. Mr. Trump was literally going after someone who doesn't agree with him. So it shouldn't be a surprise when people come on TV and feel the need to agree with him.
Says 9 barrels. When he says 9 barrels shooting at her, that obviously evokes images of a firing squad. It evokes images of an execution.
Let's execute a political opponent who happens to be a woman because I don't like her. And like, does that pull more low propensity voters in his coalition to the polls? I honestly don't think so.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee,
Exactly.
let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person. And
Exactly. She's a stupid person. No, but that's so true. I mean, they like to vote to send everybody else's kids to war so that they can, you know, basically appease their military industrial complex. But if it were on them, they would definitely their decision wouldn't be so easy, right? You know what I mean? That's the point.
Yeah. I didn't
But,
realize I had the full clip attached, actually.
Oh, you did?
No, so I'm glad I added the context, right? So it's like, you know, let's see how she feels about it if she's the one like in war. And then CNN's acting like there's literally zero context, right? They're like, what? Why would he say? And it's at a certain point, you know, you kind of, if you follow politics at least to like some degree, you have to look at this and go like, man, you have to be such a dishonest person, especially imagine like working for like this organization. And we have a story we'll get into here in a little bit later involving Hugh Hewitt with the Washington Post. But there's a certain level where you get to it where it's like, how can you sit there and say these things, like knowingly lie, like to this degree over and over, and knowing what like that may cause?
Yes. I mean, it's complicit with the evil, right? I mean, it's pretty much good versus evil at this point, like we said multiple times, but they can't be that ignorant. You know, I mean, it's funny how sometimes they are. I was watching Pastor Ben David clip earlier today. This is just for example. And you remember, it seems like everybody knows this story, but you remember when Bush Sr. passed away and the Clintons, the Obamas, Jeb Bush were all handed the white envelopes? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think most people do. But for some reason, when Patrick Bet-David asked Jim Jordan about it, he had no clue about it. And, you know, I had to kind of wonder if it was actually just being conveniently ignorant or if he was actually just didn't know. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. But it made me kind of wonder. It's like, are these people really just that ignorant? So it kind of,
you know, that saying that's like that tried and true saying where it's like, you know, don't attribute to malice where you contribute to ignorance. The complete opposite applies to mainstream media. It's like, don't attribute to ignorance where you can attribute to malice. Like, these people are like scum, like the way they operate all the way to an absolute T, just like, and it's so predictable anymore too, because you'll get people now you get like people like Tim Pool, Jack Posobiec, all these pundits who are like, they'll say something and they'll immediately be like, oh wait, now wait till you see Media Matters running with this clip, because they know they just said something that'll be easily able to be taken out of context, and they'll see it being reposted on some article somewhere.
Well, it's like what they did with Tony Hinchcliffe and the Cuba or Puerto Rico joke, you know, the floating pile of garbage joke or whatever. I mean, although it was ill-timed, just knowing that the Democrat mainstream media is going to run with it, it was in bad taste. But understanding that he is a roasting comic, you know, you get what you pay for. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get what you pay for, but it's just, it is what it is. And I see here, Cool Vic says, start watching Bill Maher's Club Random. So entertaining for the wrong reasons. He's usually drunk or stoned or both. Content gold. Yeah, I do watch some of those. Not a whole lot, but sometimes he actually will get a little too faded and actually speak some truth, which, you know, if he's just one of those things, I guess. But
Yep.
definitely,
Man, what's that other saying? It's like who the three people who will tell you the truth: a drunk, someone who's mad. There's a third one I forget. Like the three people who would tell you the truth.
oh
Like
yeah,
a drunk, an angry
good.
person. I forget the third one.
Yep. How much is the 2000 George Carlin? Yeah, I like George Carlin. I actually referred to him in one of my recent videos about Jerry Seinfeld taking back his comments about the woke ruined comedy, because he said the woke industry, whatever, ruined comedy, and now he has to go through all these gatekeepers to tell a joke, and then he took the comments back just recently, and it's just like, man, lost a lot of respect for Jerry Seinfeld for doing that. But then I invoked George Carlin, and I said that he would probably be more on the MAGA train, knowing that he's like a historical liberal or whatever, a traditional Democrat or whatever, but he always was able to identify what's going on in society and make fun of it. So I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't be a Trump supporter, but I think with the obvious nonsense that's going on, he would have been smart enough to identify it. So I don't know. Maybe that's a controversial opinion, but I think he would actually be more on the MAGA train nowadays. But this is actually a clip from Black Conservative Perspectives channel, but he plays what Bill Maher said, and I wanted to actually include that. What Bill Maher said about the Trump's Liz Cheney comments.
Did not threaten Liz Cheney. Take a look.
What do you make of the statement? I woke up today to the headline that Trump had called for a firing squad for Liz Cheney. And this is what I really don't like about the media. No, he didn't. He did not. You don't have to move me to not like Donald Trump.
He says
more
so
than
many
I
shitty
already,
things. Why do you have to
And
do
by
that?
the way,
Yeah.
if Pete don't realize it, here's what he said. He's criticizing him for being a war hawk. I mean, she is Dick Cheney's daughter. He said, she's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her. Okay. Let's see how she feels about it. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, we'll send tens of thousands of troops right into the mouth of the enemy. No, of course, he expresses himself horribly. He has to add, she's a stupid person because he's a moron.
Trump knows what it's really like from Vietnam.
You see the hypocrisy? He makes a stupid comment and has to say that she's a stupid person, and then he proceeds to say because he's a moron. It's like, did you not just do exactly what you said Trump was dumb for doing? Sorry, I just had to point that out.
To be clear.
By the way, he's sitting there with Tim Miller, who is a Democrat mouthpiece, talking head, says all the points. If you comment anything about men being in women's sports, you're all of a sudden some kind of ist. And then the other person there is Jamie Raskin. So I mean that should say enough about that as well.
That's a crew.
I know, right? I'm sure these guys went and had a nice little party with themselves afterwards.
This is exactly what hippies always said. This is exactly what peaceniks always said. This is Fortunate Son, the song. It's like, you know what? It's very easy to sit in your building and send young men to die. Apropos of Ukraine, because I don't know, that war doesn't look like it's going in the right direction.
Not at all. No.
But just so, just don't lie to me. I don't like Donald Trump. Don't lie to me and tell me he wants in front of us a firing squad. He was saying something that, by the way, if it came out of the mouth, some of it, not the stupid part, again, sounds like what hippies used to say about
Bill,
not sending people to, yes.
I agree with you on the lying. I mean, that is ridiculous and absurd and counterproductive. But when did Donald Trump ever criticize a war hawk the way a hippie did? I mean, was it during Vietnam? He got out of going to Vietnam, but he didn't criticize the war or the Iraq war.
Jamie, I'm not defending Trump.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't lie to me.
I agree with that. I mean, that's just a distortion.
He agrees, but
it's counterproductive. I mean, the number of Trump people you talk to who talk about the media and giving them any ammunition like this. I mean, I saw headlines, chyrons on television this morning saying that Donald Trump had said that Kamala Harris should be executed. I mean, at the beginning of that kind of rambling, incoherent thing, said give her a weapon, which is not typically something you do to
And
someone.
again, the spirit of it is
right?
something that if someone with the blue hat said it, people would nod along on the left. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's plenty of things he says that you don't have to invent them.
Can I just say one thing? And I agree with you. All those criticisms are fair.
Trump
But
bad.
there's been a lot of violence, as Nancy Pelosi knows, and a lot of threats.
Yeah, but he's orange, right? I like Black conservative perspective. He's got a good channel.
Man, I can't stand them, all of them. You know, I saw that Sean said Anna and Maher maybe waking up. I think Maher not at all, really. Maher I would probably attribute a bit more to the fact that they're bleeding members of the audience. A lot of them that are going this far with the progressive stuff, but maybe also a bit of a heartbeat left in the fact that there used to be an anti-war party in the Democratic side. Anna had like a life-changing experience, you know, physical actual attack that happened on her.
Right.
And seeing the way that people kind of made fun of her for how it happened, and then being like even like insulted for it being happening and for her opinions after the fact. I think she's on a bit more of a full turnaround than Bill Maher is.
Right. And she was really offended at the birthing person thing. When they tried to say birthing person, they try to call women birthing person instead of just, you know what I mean? It's like, are you serious? Just you've gone too far with, you know, they say don't go full. Yeah, I think that's what her point.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I do like what Dave Smith said there. It's actually hilarious.
Yeah, Dave Smith. Donald Trump did not advocate violence against Liz Cheney. There are plenty of reasons to vote for him. We don't need to invent more. He's a comic, but that's actually really funny. That's why I retweeted it.
Yeah.
I saw this one. This is just some stuff that I retweeted. I thought was funny. This election is wild. One side has Elon Musk and the entire UFC fighting roster, and an army of men with normal testosterone levels. The other side has Mark Cuban, the Krasensteins, whatever, and an army of sexually blackmailed celebrities and alcoholic liberal women. you can throw in like, you know, Tim Miller and Raskin as well, and David Pacman and Destiny. I mean, these guys are real gems, right?
Dude. The funniest thing I think I've seen in a long time is, I don't know if you saw the 1v25. I think it was like Jubilee or somebody with Destiny. It was like him taking on 25 conservatives. But somebody took the thumbnail.
I just saw that. I hadn't watched
somebody
it yet.
took the thumbnail and they're like, what? Do they all get to be with his wife? I was like,
oh,
what is this supposed to be?
Holy
And I was
smokes.
like, dude, that's so good. But like I was telling my wife, you know, I think somebody like Destiny, he kind of exhibits this nature of, I think, doing and engaging in that exact kind of behavior, that cuck behavior. It damages you to a degree that is probably very close to irreparable. And so he's just, you know, continually spiraling down and hammering down on his positions, no matter how wrong he may be demonstrated to be. Because that's a very kind of like traumatic thing to kind of come back from as a male, you know, as far as you understand it, especially like psychologically, the damage it kind of does to a man. It's pretty unfortunate. So part of me does feel bad for him because it seems like he's just sinking to all-time lows.
Well, don't feel too bad for him. I think part of that is him just speaking to his echo chamber. And I mean, if you look at every video this guy puts out, he gets so many views, and they can't be people that are clicking on it just to watch the moron jump around, you know, and do stupid
hate
things.
watchers.
Hate watchers. It's disappointing, honestly.
Right.
Let's see here. Abigail Shepard said, "Destiny is how I imagine all Democrats' boyfriends' husbands are." For real.
Yeah. What's funny is my wife showed me a video the other day of it was like, you know, the average Kamala Harris boyfriend voter or something like that. And the guy's like, he like looks at this and he's like, wow. He's like, I noticed that you posted a picture of yourself in a bikini and deleted my comment. I'm so glad that you think of other people before me. And it's just like, it just keeps going and going, like all these responses. And he's like, you should take that trip in Miami. You've already been to all the clubs here, honey. Just like, Just aggressive. It was so good.
I thought this was a good one here. Just continuing down the timeline, like I reposted a lot of these things for the show, but this was a good one from RFK. Charlie Kirk reposted this, but let's go ahead and just play it instead of reading the quote.
Since 2005, I spend 30 minutes praying every day when I get out of bed. And
Yeah, cheered that.
Right.
Like it. I like it. A loud cheer. Long.
Yeah. He's like, it's already hard for me to speak. Don't make it harder.
Okay.
And my prayer is this. I ask God for 19 years to put me in a position where I could end the chronic disease epidemic and bring health back to our children. And in August, God sent me Donald Trump.
Let's go. Right? Who'd have thought? He probably never imagined that it would be Donald Trump or a Republican that would help him do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm a bit excited to see a little what we get from RFK, especially saying one of the most recent things I saw was if Trump wins the election, that they're going to get rid of fluoride out of the drinking water by January 20th.
Yeah.
I'm curious how people take that on.
Yeah, that'd be
This
cool.
one I might have a very different opinion than you on. I actually did see this earlier.
You saw this? I don't know. I found it interesting. You know what I mean? So I was like, let's share this because it's kind of has a little controversy. I wanted to share this comment by Cool Vic. I'm in California and I've seen an uptick in Kamala stickers, but I've seen way more Trump signs, even Trump banners hung up in people's houses. I've heard that it's actually acceptable to say good things about Donald Trump in Beverly Hills this year and stuff like that. So, I mean, it just seems like, even the most Democrat historically places just a couple years ago seem to be warming up to having Trump back. I mean, it's 4 years of experience under Trump, 4 years of experience under Biden and Kamala. People can remember back 8 years. And so, I think it's one of those things where the mainstream media is trying a little bit too hard to try to, and that's how you, at least in my opinion, that's how you know they're desperate. And they feel like they're losing. I mean, we obviously don't know until the election's over, so we can't become complacent. Speaking of which, let me show you here. I went out and did my early voting yesterday, and there was a lot of
cool
people
sticker,
there.
actually.
Yeah, the stickers are a lot cooler than they used to be. Here, I actually got an old sticker, so the old ones, and then I don't know the new ones, right?
Yeah,
a lot cooler.
Yeah, way better.
But that also is like a verification. That you can't hold up an old sticker and claim you voted.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
For clout. But yeah, like I was saying, the line was actually not very long when I got there, although there was pretty much every voting station was taken up. But I went right before 5 o'clock yesterday, and as people were getting off work, I did a paper ballot, which was cool. And then when I walked out, the line was 25 people out the door, probably. So, I mean, it was definitely picking up after work on Friday. So it was cool. A lot of people are voting. A lot of registered Republicans, from what I understand, are voting and stuff like that. So proud of you guys. Proud of you guys. Just me said I live in Florida, so thankfully I see a lot of Trump flag signs, banners, and billboards. Let's see. Yeah, I think they're trying to convince us. I think they're trying to convince us that it's a lot closer than it really is. Although I will say, let me look this up real quick. Trump lost like 10 points in the poly market. I think that might just be people. I don't know how the poly market exactly wins, or exactly goes, but I think that might be people just taking their win, like they invested early on and then they're taking their money out. But he dropped 12 points in the last couple of days. Let's see.
Yeah, I think it like directly was this poly market change actually directly followed the whole Dick Cheney's daughter thing.
Oh wow!
It's like when it immediately was noticed. This is when I saw it, at least. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I believe that's what the timing.
But this is good. Honestly, not good because I mean, it doesn't matter. This isn't going to be like a direct result for the election, but this is a reminder to not become complacent. You know what I mean? Like if you're thinking it was in the bag when it was at 67%, a few days ago on October 30th, here we are 2 days later, and he's lost nearly 13%. So, and that everything he loses, she gains. So it's actually a big. It closed the gap quite a bit. But incentive to make sure you get out there and get your vote in. Don't be complacent. Which I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here, but still feel like I gotta say it, especially since it's the last time I can say it. Really, last stream at least. Next week is going to be. We'll probably be talking about the counties that are still trying to count their votes. They gave themselves like 13 days to count votes and all that nonsense. But
I'm really hoping not.
As we've mentioned before,
Really
hopefully Trump blows her out of the water so far that those counties just are moot. It's like, fine, take 3 years to count the rest of your ballots. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then disenfranchise all the voters in your county by taking a long time, you dipshits. Like, good job. Way to secure your job for next time around, right? Make
really
a bunch
hoping
of
I
people
don't
in
see
the whole
any Wisconsins again.
Yeah, make a bunch of people in a county feel like, wow, my vote really counted. Our whole county really counted. You know what I mean? Like, good job. Let's see here. Just trying to make sure I stay up on the comments. Abigail Shepard said I plan to vote on Tuesday, and I'm worried my vote will be changed to Kamala. If she wins, it'll be because of all the cheating and lying and BS. Yeah, I agree. I mean, oh, cool, Vic. You didn't have the same sticker? That sucks. I've been seeing more of them looking like this, so I thought they were all like that across the country. Probably just doxed myself. Don't be looking up where that sticker's from.
Someone's like screenshotting you right now. Like, where?
Go back. Let's see here. What else we got?
Illegal immigrants can vote, or is that just fear mongering? It depends on what state you're in.
We got the old sticker, dang. Clint Russell. I like Clint Russell. I'm having to refresh all these links. Dang, he must have taken that one down.
Which one was it?
Clint Russell. Arizona AG is now investigating if Trump comments about Liz Cheney constituted
I got that one pulled up actually. That's one on my chair.
Oh, okay. I'll go ahead and let you play that then.
Yeah, this is the one we were talking about earlier with the one of the attorney generals. Was it Arizona? Threatening to, what's the word? I don't know if they're going to be sue, but press charges or something like that to argue that Trump made a death threat against Dick Cheney's daughter. Let's go ahead and listen to him.
It's funny. I was just going to say, what's funny about that is if that was Trump making a death threat, wouldn't every congressman, woman, person that votes to go to war be essentially committing a death threat on all the fighting age men and women across the country?
Right.
It's just such a stupid thing. I mean, just say it out loud before you say stuff on TV, right? Good old say it out loud test.
Then finding a way to win without actually winning. Pretty democratic of you.
Right.
Political anchor and reporter from our NBC affiliate in Phoenix, KPNX, joins us. Talk about this breaking news regarding Donald Trump's comments that he made about Liz Cheney in Arizona last night. The attorney general is responding.
That's right. I just spoke to Attorney General Chris Mays about 2 hours ago for the taping of my Sunday show. She told me she just gotten off the phone with her criminal division chief, and she was investigating whether what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney constituted a death threat under Arizona law. I'll tell you, under Arizona law, it is illegal to make threats or intimidate someone. Can be charged as a Class 1 misdemeanor, Class 6 felony. Chris Mays told me they're looking into it. I asked her whether this was just political speech, free speech. She said we're checking to see if it crossed that line. But she also put it in the larger perspective. If you're here right now, you begin to understand how this place is ready for a high security event on Tuesday, an election. Our sheriff's office is talking about a no tolerance policy for protests. Chris Mays is activating all her agents. Every law enforcement agency in the state is involved with protecting the vote, protecting voters. So that's Chris Mays brought that into the conversation, that for Donald Trump to make these kinds of remarks at this time, such a really fraught and tense moment here in Maricopa County, is just bad.
Getting all my agents on the job. Like, dude, this guy is like sub 100 testosterone levels. Like, I could just struggle for him to speak.
Is that the? Oh wait, no, it's not the guy. What's her name? It's a woman. She's the one that oversaw her own election against Carrie Lake the first time.
Yeah, well, he said her name a couple times, like Chris Hayes, right? I think it was something like that.
I can't remember now.
Yeah, but he said he was like some kind of correspondent. He'd like talked to her earlier in the day, and that's what she was like doing, getting the agents together to do this.
Yeah.
It's just pathetic again. Of
For
course.
real.
You got to try everything, though.
Oh, the mooch is back. The mooch. Trump should be taken into custody. Okay, I'll just put that on the screen. It's the same clip, I think, that we already played. I assume that's the same clip. Yeah, he's talking to Tucker.
Yeah.
Scaramucci,
Well, that
who...
was, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I put this in here as an example because there's so many viral posts going around.
Right.
That this is like their responses. Trump needs to go to jail for this. How dare Trump do something like this? And it's just like all like, full bold, all caps lettering of them like losing their minds because they just take something and run with it. And again, most of them probably know that they're being lied or know that they're lying when they say these things.
I mean, it's desperation mode. And it's funny, this dude is pissed off because he was in Trump's he was in Trump's, when Trump won in 2016, Scaramucci was a part of Trump's team, right? And he wanted to be, I can't remember the job that he wanted, but Trump was like, no, he can't have it. And ended up getting himself fired because he started talking shit, and then Trump eventually said something about Scaramucci's wife leaving him because his wife left him, and he says that his wife left him because he was on Trump's team, and then Trump said something about his wife leaving him, and then he got like fired or quit or something like that. But so this dude is totally bitter, which is most of these people that come out, like the general that said that Trump wished that Trump said, the hearsay thing that the mainstream media ran with just like a week ago was, or 2 weeks ago, Trump said that he wishes his generals were just like Hitler's generals or whatever, like that bull crap. It's all hearsay, and it all comes from people that Trump fired, right? I mean, bitter ex-employees. It's just like,
if Democrats
we're all
win,
stupid. Yeah,
if
we're all
Democrats
stupid.
win, just know in 10 years, they'll be like the worst thing that ever happened was Trump. And they'll be teaching kids. They'll replace, we won't even learn about Hitler anymore. It'll be like just Trump. Like
Right.
he'll be replaced as like the Darth Vader of our world. Like,
Right.
It's
I heard one of these pundits talking about Trump saying that he just wants to be in the history books 100 years from now. He wants his name to be in the history books that he was president. It's like, he's already in that history book. Did you forget he was president for 4 years? Like, you guys are trying everything. This is so stupid.
Yeah. He'll be in the history books just for the McDonald's and garbage truck stunts, dude. Like most iconic American campaign ever ran.
That was epic. So Scaramucci said Trump should be taken into custody. He is a convicted felon and just violated his conditions of his bail agreement by threatening someone's life. He needs to be sent away. I mean, Get real, bro. Get real. It's just such
It's real
nonsense.
for him.
The October surprise from the Democrats is just desperation, right?
Yeah, well, again, I think one thing that needs to be talked about too is there's going to be a mental health crisis if Trump wins. I think it's going to be a very volatile time for a lot of people. I think a lot of people need to be aware of that being the thing. Just I had an anecdotal event like the other day. I was going to a Meijer, and on my way in, there was this girl with colored hair, of course, like literally just losing her mind, like screaming, like just saying absolute nonsense. And it was, it revolved around the fact that again, she's probably somebody who has very, very poor mental health. But take that meme that people use over and over again of like that liberal like screaming at the top of her lungs and times that by 10 because it's only gotten worse. People have been led to these degrees where, if Trump gets into power, he's gonna on day one, like what was Oprah Winfrey talking about the other day? Where she was saying like as soon as Trump takes office, he's gonna separate all interracial couples and he's gonna deport like all these crazy things that like people will believe that like we're gonna be you're gonna have to be dealing with like schizophrenics, right? And schizophrenic people can be dangerous depending on how much they believe their delusions. And so just prepare for crazy stuff like that.
Right. There was a recent guest on Tim Pool's show. And I wish I could remember the name of the guy's show. He had his own channel, and he predicted like 1,200 deaths in the wake of not the wake of the election, but in the wake. I think he said by March or something like that, based on election results or whatever. And he said it didn't matter who won. There's going to be civil strife to a point that we've never seen in our lifetime.
That's
Which,
what if
it's
alt
just one man.
hissed?
Yeah, that's it. That was just
He's
one
like a
man's
researcher
prediction.
channel.
But he looks at a lot of stuff. So, I mean, fairly educated guess, I would say. But I hate to say it or whatever, but I feel like, well, it's funny. I was watching Tim Pool debate Sam Cedar yesterday, and Sam Cedar asked the question, "Who do you think would be more inclined to start a civil war?" Since civil war is one of Tim Pool's favorite topics. And Tim was like, well, Donald Trump didn't send in the National Guard to the Chaz Chop. He didn't send in the National Guard to, well, first of all, he said, I can't really answer that question. It's all like just full on speculation, but let me think through it. And he was just saying like, well, when Trump had all these opportunities, he didn't do it. But Obama did drone bomb an American. Kamala has been and Biden have been trying to prosecute him. He started listing these things off, and Sam Cedar wasn't hearing it. And that's actually the end of I didn't get to finish it, but it was just really funny because he was just like thinking through it live, and it's like, well, I don't want to answer that, but at the same time, as I think through it, Democrats, and then you hear like what Jamie Raskin said. He's on video saying that they're not going to certify. He's claiming that the Democrats in the House, whichever one they have the majority in, I think it's actually Congress, the Senate, that they're not going to certify Trump win and expect civil war conditions on this year's January 6th or whatever, right? And it's just like, bro, are you seriously? You're out here saying the quiet part out loud like an idiot. Would you get drunk with Bill Maher on a show or what? But I see Sean Graham asked this question. What about Bitcoin, up or down after Trump wins? Of course, this is not financial advice, but I would just tend to think and agree with TNT Cycles that he thinks that Bitcoin will jump as well as precious metals due to speculation of good times. And that's exactly what I think too as well, which, like I said, it's not financial advice. I'm a loser when it comes to trying to play the crypto markets and NFTs and stock market. I held on to my AMC stock a couple days too long, but
I would just find what Jim Cramer said and do the opposite.
Right,
Whatever
right.
Jim Cramer says, do the complete opposite.
But I can say, speaking for Trump's first time around when he won, the speculation around oil prices, because Trump claimed he's gonna, and he did, he freed up a lot of American energy, things like that. He's saying he's not going after your crypto, not going after your Bitcoin, anything like that. So, and I believe Trump is a man of his word. He's one of the few presidents in my lifetime that actually tried to do the things that he ran on, which he didn't get it all done. namely the removing Obamacare, but he took away the worst part of Obamacare, which was the tax penalty. You know what I mean? That was the one thing that really affected Americans the most, because if you didn't have health care, then you couldn't afford health care, then you got penalized on your taxes. It made no sense, and it was a complete government overreach. And I think Nancy Pelosi even said you got to pass it to find out what's in it, which was complete bullshit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Trump at least fixed the worst part of that. So I mean, arguably he did kind of fix Obamacare, but I don't know. That's a whole another story. He didn't really fix it completely. But like I was saying, he does try to, historically, he did at least try to do the things that he ran on, rather than just lie to the people, tell them what the pundits, what they think the people want to hear, and then get power and then do whatever the hell you want, like Democrats have historically done.
Yeah, we just gotta hope he learns from his initial mistakes.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we learned from the Joe Rogan interview, which was that when he first won his first election, he was a novice to the whole thing, and he had to appoint people from a certain pool of individuals that had been vetted, and he didn't know exactly who the right people were and weren't. But now that he has 4 years of presidential experience and then another 4 years, he has a better idea of who to select, who to appoint, and who to use and surround himself with. So this time around, I think he'll do a much better job as far as that. There won't be any of the John Bolton types and those individuals, at least in my opinion. But that
His
was one of
comments
the
on John Bolton were hilarious.
that was one
He
of the
was like,
coolest parts.
when he was saying, like, like the president of North Korea, he saw John Bolton and he said, I think that guy wants to go to war with me. And he's like, and then he was talking about, Emmanuel Macron. He's like, he saw John Bolton with me, and he's like, I think that guy wants to go to war with me. It's like, because the dude's such a war hawk. And that's really what I'm hoping for too, especially as somebody who's not, I love Trump, obviously, but I know that there's a lot of flaws that he has and he brings to the table too. So I'm really just hoping, as much as I can, that the people who are inside on that internal team, like the Kash Patels, can get him to make the right appointments so we don't have to redo the first couple years of 2016.
Yeah. Hopefully, and then hopefully also the if we can get a majority in the House and the majority in the Senate, because what I understand too, they're already drawn up articles of impeachment to try to impeach Trump from day one. I mean, I heard that today from somebody. They didn't name their source, but they said it's from Democrats, active Democrats in leadership. So just like, bro, are you serious? Like, you guys are worried about, you're already working on that? He's not even president yet. Like, could you at least please for one day just worry about Americans like you're supposed to?
Do you think they wanted to get that done first, or send the 425 million to Ukraine first? Like, what do you think was the priority there?
Yeah, I know, right? That was their two things on their agenda, and then they can go home and pat themselves on the back with a job well done.
Yeah, if they even showed up to vote.
Yeah,
like, as what was it, MTG who explained that before she had gotten there, and trust me, I'm no big fan of MTG, but like, it was like, less than like 30% of Congress is even showing up to like even put votes in on half the things that were passing. They were doing like the absentee votes, so like staff members would come and run the votes to the podium. It's just like, dude, you already barely do anything, and the fact that like you don't even do what very little is required of you is just like, okay,
Right.
This is outside the lines here.
That was one of the things that I liked about, or that I like about Marjorie Taylor Greene, is she was forcing a roll call where they were all actually having to show up and actually represent like their vote and everything, and everybody was pissed off at her because they're having to work and show up and stuff. But
yeah, she made enemies that day.
Yeah, for sure. But they didn't put her on committee, so she said it herself. She didn't have anything to do, so she basically sat around the Capitol all day and forced roll call votes and whatever it was. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And
she's like, I'm gonna be as petty as possible.
Right. It's like, put me on some committees, give me some work to do, and I'll do the work. But meanwhile, I'm going to make sure that y'all asses are doing the right thing. Pretty funny. Yeah. Elon bringing on Ron Paul to fire 80% of the government bureaucracy. Yeah, I know, man. And Elon's proven that he's able to identify, like he just did it with X when he took over Twitter. He fired 75, 80% of the folks that were just basically dead weight taking a paycheck. and X is better than ever. I mean, they've implemented multiple things that weren't around when Twitter was around. Uh, the Spaces, the Grok, just different things. Sorry, I got my little dog going down the hallway barking. She's deaf, so she doesn't realize she's being.
She's on camera.
Can't tell her to be quiet.
That's funny. No, him bringing on Ron Paul is huge. I think not only just for like the Javier Fuela, right? Afuela, you're getting rid of all these different bureaucracy below. But also like specifically to one thing that Ron Paul was super against, which was all of the foreign war meddling. Ron Paul is one of the people who brought to light really early on. It's almost like, dude, how long ago is this? Like almost like 20 years, maybe even longer than that.
Yeah.
Talking about how we in multiple instances we funded both sides of conflicts. And so I hope that, if they're going to worry about, the government blow, I hope that he can work on the military blow and be like, how about we stop doing this with the military, stop doing this with the military, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I agree. I see Sean asked, what's Trump's worst flaw? And then TNT Cycles answered, Trump's worst flaw is his ego, 100%, but it's a strength in the right situation. And that's really well said. It is his ego because he wants to appease everybody. And I think that's why Donald Trump tried so hard in his first 4 years to appeal to the Democrats. He was always trying to, he was seeking their approval. Like they were the cool kids, and almost to a flaw, to the point where he wasn't necessarily ignoring his supporters, but he was just trying so hard to make people that hated him with every ounce of their soul, and they're never going to like him. And he was still trying to make them happy. And, that's where the phrase came from, at least in my opinion, that if Trump invented a cure for cancer, they would reject it. You know what I mean? And that's just, and so I think that'll be a different story this time around. I think he's just going to focus on everybody rather than just trying to seek the approval. But the other half of that is it's a strength in the right situation, which is like he's not afraid to hand a picture of the. You guys might have seen this, but there's Byron Donald told a story. Is Byron Donalds? I want to say his name. Byron Donalds.
Yeah. The Florida rep.
Yes. He told the story that was one of the coolest things that he witnessed of Donald Trump, and that was when Donald Trump was meeting face to face with the leader of ISIS. I think it was a leader of ISIS at the time. I think the guy might be gone now, but he might still be around. I'm not sure. But he was meeting with that guy, and Donald Trump was speaking through a translator, and he basically told him, "You're not going to kill another American," which the guy ended up respecting until Trump was out of office. But they were sniping American soldiers over in Afghanistan, just taking pot shots at them and stuff like that. So they basically had to be on guard. The American soldiers did, like, all the time. And he said, "Look, you're going to stop." I got to paraphrase because it's been a while since I've actually heard it. But he basically told him, "You're going to stop," and handed the dude a picture of his own house. I mean, that's the ego in the right situation, having the balls to say face to face the leader of ISIS, "You're going to do what I say, and here's why." Slide him a picture of his own home. Just like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, like I think his ego is like one of his number one strengths in like 110 different ways.
Yeah.
I would actually give a little bit of a different answer. I'm one of those people who every time I see any of these clips, no matter how they get taken out of context, I'm like, based.
Right.
I think it's really the burden is actually on the people who can't get over it. The people who let the reader understand, but they can't take it for what it is because they get offended at the slightest drop of something.
Right.
I would say actually his biggest flaw to me would be the way he has to kind of run things managerially. Because this is Donald Trump. He is someone who is from the outside going in. So he really does have to rely on other individuals a lot, especially when it comes to like the inner workings of things. And that would be my answer, honestly. Like, I think his ego is a huge plus. I think he wouldn't actually have built up the base that he has if he didn't have the ego. And a good friend of mine, Donnie Brook, if he's listening right now, he explained it to me like this too when he used to be on my show, which was, you don't have to second guess that Donald Trump will do things for his own ego, because he wants to be loved. So that's why it has a huge pull where if he's going to do something that's going to actually genuinely make him be loved by the American people, you don't have to doubt it in the slightest, because he's going to do the thing that's going to make him be beloved by the American people. But the issue though becomes being an outsider from the coming into politics, and especially as he explained on the Joe Rogan thing, he had to make like over like 100 and some appointments, and he was kind of just like letting other people tell him what to do,
Yeah.
because he truly didn't really like have a good grip on like who would be the best fit for these certain situations. And so I think hopefully he's got a bit more direction geared to him this time around, and he'll know who he wants to install ahead of time. But it also does draw into question too, he was very, very outspokenly denouncing like people like Project 2025, people who were very like in his corner and in his wing. So I
Mhm.
think that kind of set people a little aside, but we'll see. There's still time to tell.
Right. Oh man, I've been trying to look up that thing. It looks like that video is not so easy to find. Dang it, I wanted to play that because it shows the cojones on the man. And also the rumors are that he threatened old Putin that he would nuke Moscow if he got out of line. Stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I like that strength. I like that type of thing.
Based.
Let's see here. The cream one said, and because he doesn't take any shit is why they can't control him. And we all know that's what the Democratic Party is all about. Control. Yeah. The party of slavery is the party of control of the people. 100%. 100%. Nice to have you here too. I don't know if we've seen you before here, so it's cool to see a new face.
Yeah, brother. And good night, Sean. Peace out.
Yeah. Good night, man. R.I.P. Peanut. For real. Let's see. That's a bummer. I really wanted to find that clip.
America First is located in Beirut.
Here. Well, I'm gonna quit looking for that because we got plenty of other stuff to talk about. Got the last 20 minutes or so, at least scheduled show. Should we talk about the Daniel Penny case at all, or what do you want to do next?
Let's see. Daniel Penny has one major thing, which would be that video that was released afterwards. Let's see, what was the other big one? There's the Mehdi Hassan and Ryan Gerdowski CNN debacle.
Oh, that guy, I hate him.
Oh,
he's so annoying. But yeah, that was a good one.
And then all this election interference stuff. Oh, we can do the Hugh Hewitt one. That's also pretty wild from Benny Johnson. It's the very top of the election interference one. He was the WAPO journalist who left midstream because he was like, I can't stand that you guys are lying about Trump. And he's like a left-wing guy. And he was like, I can't take this. And he just leaves literally midstream.
I've seen the headlines about this, but I haven't looked into this story. So yeah, let's do that.
This is the longer clip too. It's so
TNT Penny
too.
better get 100 million when the case gets beat. I know. I agree with that.
Yep. Real.
I mean, it's just so ridiculous. But Hugh Hewitt rips his earpiece out and walks off. Set live on air while calling Washington Post an election ad for Kamala. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to mention. Donald Trump is suing. We'll get into that next. But he's suing CBS for Kamala's 60 Minutes interview for like $10 billion.
Oh yeah, because they doctored the footage. I saw a clip that compared a couple of the questions that were actually aired versus the original ones, and they chopped out a lot of like Kamala's just kind of bumbling in her responses. And you couldn't even, they did a good job because when I watched it, I couldn't tell it was that doctored. But when you see the replay, it's like, dude, they're deleting like minutes at a time and like getting rid of like her being like, like all of that kind of stuff getting cut out.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, I was reading the comments, so you might have said this. Forgive me if it's a repeat, but like they showed the previews, like question and answer, and then it was different in the actual interview.
Yeah, they were like rematching questions with answers she had like later on with things just to make things seem that she was a bit more coherent.
Right. And they're basically saying that, I think Trump's saying We'll get into that. Let's play this one real quick. But I want to revisit that because I have a theory.
All 2024. Anyone? No. No, this is an echo chamber.
Crickets. We'll put that on screen just so people know what we're talking about. Crickets. Anyone? All right, here we go.
Well, I've just got to say, we're news people, even though it's the opinion section.
Oh, it's kind of quiet. I'm going to
It's
crank
got to
it.
be reported. Bucks County was reversed by the court and instructed to open up extra days because they violated the law and told people to go home. So that lawsuit was brought by the Republican National Committee and it was successful. The Supreme Court ruled that Glenn Youngkin was successful. We are news people, even though we have opinions, and we have to report the whole story if we bring up part of the story. So yes, he's upset about Bucks County, but he was right and he won in court. That's the story.
I'll let you keep going, Jonathan.
No, I don't appreciate being lectured about reporting when many times you come here saying lots of things that aren't.
I won't
based
come
in
back,
fact.
Jonathan. I'm
What-
done.
what-
I'm done. Unfair election ad I have ever been a part of. You guys are working. That's fine. I'm done.
So Ruth, you wrote a column this week.
He could not stand hearing that. And you know what's funny is Scott Pressler, the guy I mentioned earlier, he was actually one of the people that headed up and like was all over that case when it happened.
Yeah.
Like
Bucks County is where they were
immediately, like the second it happened, he was like, here comes the case. Like, we got it all documented. We got eyes everywhere. Y'all are fucked up on this one.
That was where the police were not letting people vote after 5. Was that what it was?
They were, I can't remember if it was that or, well, it might have been that. There's been multiple things that he's been calling out, so it's hard to remember which one it was. But I mean, I know just like last night, people were sitting there in lawn chairs in after dark that were in line before the time. I think that particular one was they tried to shut the line down at like 1:00 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. And then there was other people like shouting at them, like, don't leave the line, like, don't let them push you out of
Yeah.
line. I think that is Bucks County.
Yeah. Yeah, let's play the rest of this because that was funny. Dude, I'm done. I'm not playing a part of this political ad for you guys anymore. Homie was sitting there just quiet, like, you just said that on my CNN show or whatever this is, Washington Post Live.
Yeah.
You can't say stuff that helps the Republicans on my show.
It's just it's gross, dude.
So let's play the rest just real quick, I guess.
Ending with this line, and actually, I think this is perfect. We're going to put it on the screen. You wrote, "You want to know the stakes of this election? Not only democracy, but decency."
So he's talking to the guy
Talk
like
more
he's
about
still
that,
there.
Ruth.
Oh, okay, no.
Okay, I'm collecting myself.
Oh, Ruth froze.
Now Ruth pulled the plug.
Yeah.
She on too.
Abandoned ship.
Let's take calls.
Ruth is frozen. So hang in there, everyone. We're going to see if we can try to get Ruth back to
I wonder if
this,
his husband
we're
wears
gonna-
her wedding ring too.
we're
DT,
gonna
dude,
get-
you're
we're
making
gonna
me
get
crack
Ruth
up
back
tonight,
in
bro.
a moment. This is First Look, Washington Post Live's nonstop shop for news and analysis, and Ruth is back. So I'm going to read that quote back again from your column, Ruth, where you wrote, "You want to know the stakes of
Here you
this
go.
election? Not only democracy, but decency."
No, she's
we
trying to
lost her
hang up
again.
on you, bro.
Everybody, if you've been watching First Look, you know that these conversations
You
can
know
be
what? That's enough of you, sir.
Yeah.
Or ma'am. I don't want to misgender you.
It's ma'am.
It's ma'am. We'll call it sir.
That clip will live in my head for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah.
It's ma'am. It's like, yeah, sure it is, buddy.
See this one right here. Clint Russell posted the ballot box was lit on fire, hundreds of votes incinerated in Washington state. It only gets crazier from here. I haven't actually seen the video. I've only heard the story. But I mean, what happens? I mean, do they send out like some kind of public service notice like, hey, if you dropped your ballot in this box on this day, come back and vote again? And if your vote it was one of the ones we salvaged out of the group, then
Yeah.
we won't charge you for voting twice, or like, you know what I mean? Because it's like you can't vote twice.
Well, I think those votes are actually just considered lost. I think
I
it's
mean,
like it's some
the
level of
people that-
interference, I think.
right? But
I
I
saw
mean,
somebody write about it.
it's just crazy. Like I would, if I drop my ballot in that box, I'd be like, yo, I get the right to vote again. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you can show me my ballot that's still there and counted. But you know, there's people that didn't get their vote submitted because of that. I mean, it's a net loss.
Oh, dude, I'd be furious if that happened to me. But it's funny because you might have seen this too.
Check
There was
clear,
like
we
that
don't.
famous, yeah, right. There's that famous post that had Selena Gomez, and she was like standing at a big ballot box, and she like put her vote in, and a British person had quoted it, and they're like, "Wait, Americans just put their votes in boxes in the public, like in the street?" And so it's like even like someone from another country being like, "You're doing something like that insecure," which even it strengthens the argument of like it should just be literally like one day, just you're allowed to do it for 24 hours, like longer periods of time, make it a holiday so people get time off of work, paper ballots right then and there, counted at that spot. Because like the way we do it is it's just so insecure. There's so many different ways that these things can get, violated, and there's no integrity, no security.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I had to check something. Okay. It's crazy, dude. I'm looking at this next one. I think this is actually
Oh yeah, Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
yeah, I think this is the one where that guy walked off what he was covering and then he walked off. I think
It's so
Bucks
much, I
County is like
forgot.
the biggest county in Pennsylvania. It seems to be the first stop that Scott Pressler made. But breaking police in Bucks County, Pennsylvania are physically blocking people from voting.
The police are out there like
Psychologically with brain power. I got mind power, but brain power takes over.
you see a Democrat in a wheelchair roll up, it's like Professor X.
Right. Physically blocking people from voting. If you were in line by 5, stay in line. Report all efforts to suppress voting at the link in the replies. Do not back down. But here's a little snippet of it. Don't know if there's audio, but we'll just see. Oh, yeah. This goes back to dudes just following orders. A lot of the good cops, a lot of the based cops quit during the pandemic. They really did a purge of people with values and principles. Replaced them with mindless drones. Dude's in it for the paycheck.
Yeah. Well, you were even bringing up Michael Malice, and one of his sayings on it, because he's a very, very anti-police guy. I don't think he's anti-law and order, but he's very anti like the modern iteration of policing.
Yeah.
But his quote was, it's along the lines of like, there is no law so depraved that an officer would not enforce up to and including the harming of children. And I think that's a reality that like is really set in for him, especially for someone whose family went through like, Cold War situations where,
Yes, thank
things
you.
get
That was
so
actually the
scarce.
quote that I was trying to recall. That was actually the literal words that I was trying to recall earlier when I invoked Michael Malice. That they would.
Well, yeah, it's
follow
you see
orders
it in
all
the
the way
Border
up to
Patrol.
including that. Yeah.
Well, it's the exact thing that's actually playing out right now. Most people kind of lose sight of it because it's not being talked about as much anymore. I mean, the border's talked about all the time, but even Dr. Phil ran a couple of documentaries, and he went on Joe Rogan and discussed this about how Border Patrol is essentially like assigning these children that come across with no parents. They'll look at the numbers that are written on their arms in permanent marker, and then they'll be like, okay, this girl needs to be sent to New York because that's where she's going to be meeting up with her contact. And they're like they are helping carry out the human trafficking. And so they already are gotten to this point here in the States. And what what would the argument be, right? They don't want to sacrifice their 401k or like their pension fund. They want to be able to make sure they can feed their family. And it's like, at what cost then, have you sold your soul, right? Like, do you have no conscience? Do you have no heart? Like, So those are things for me where it's like I would never be able to do, and I actually struggle to understand how other people can justify it. You know, like, is there no other job you can step into, or like, have you organized your finances in such a way that you couldn't take any amount of loss to like a 70K job where you would start losing things, you know? And then even at that, it's like, I think some of that stuff's worth the loss to not say, hey, I trafficked over 50 children when I worked for BCP between, 2022 and 2024. It's like, it just disgusts me to a level that, I can't even really say here on YouTube.
Yeah. No, yeah. I agree. Those people gotta not gonna be able to put that on their resume. Hopefully with Trump win, at least that's the case. I don't know. It's crazy.
Praying for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please. Please.
This is End Wokeness. Oh, yeah. I'm glad this one. Okay. Excuse me.
Oh, yeah. Airing the results like 10 days in advance.
Right. And so apparently ABC actually aired election results of Harris winning Pennsylvania by 5% with 100% of the people reported in. And this was the other day during one of the IndyCar races. I think that's what those dudes are.
Yeah.
I don't watch racing as much anymore. I think it's the IndyCars is what they're called. But I was talking to my wife about this earlier. And here, let me put this on the full screen so you guys can actually see. Hopefully you guys can read that. Let me try to blow it up. Twitter never works. Oh, I'm making the wrong screen. There we go. There we go. Right here, Harris 52 to Trump 47. And it has like all these numbers, like, 6 million votes basically accounted for. And and their excuse was, do we have the response on here as well?
I don't remember what the response was. I mean, I can paraphrase. It was essentially that it was a test run. Like they were explaining it was like a test run to ensure that they had their election stuff ready to go. And that they would just like threw in random numbers.
Right, exactly. And see, TNZ Cycles is thinking the same way I am. I was like, why did they have a check mark, the 52%, 47%, all these numbers reporting 100% rather than just having zeros in it? You know what I mean? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? Something inconspicuous. No names, exactly, right? I mean, I guess you could put the names in there if you were trying to test it, but I mean, have zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way across. Literally 1, 2%, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up, and fill all the numbers and make sure you got all the, the gaps covered or whatever. But then this is way too specific. And so, I think this was them actually election interference. I mean, just to say it lightly. And that brings me to my other point that I wanted to mention earlier about Donald Trump bringing the lawsuit against CBS for the 60 Minutes interview of Kamala Harris, where they basically doctored and re-edited. And I made a video about this where it was Megyn Kelly talking about it. And I wish I would have thought of this at the time, but Donald Trump is bringing, and that was before Donald Trump brought the lawsuit. I think it's 10 billion, but I read 20 billion, but then I heard 10 billion. Regardless, huge number. And shouldn't that be one of those things that Kamala Harris has to count as a campaign donation and CBS be held accountable for? Because if they're literally doing that, it's basically contributing to her campaign. And so, filling an hour's worth of ads or commercials on CBS costs a lot of money, especially during 60 Minutes. I'm sure I don't have the numbers, but it's not cheap, right? I mean, it's one of their main longest going TV shows. Oh, I took us off the screen and didn't put us back on. It's one of their longest going TV shows or whatever on the network. And so you think that the advertising dollars, I mean, the value that they provided the Harris campaign right there without charging her anything, that's a campaign donation, and they just basically handed Trump 34 felonies because he paid off a porn star that he claims he never had sex with, which, believable in my opinion. I mean,
well, the timing's peculiar, right?
He's
Like,
denied it.
I
I mean,
could-
he's denied it the whole time. He's, and all that stuff. But yeah, the timing's peculiar, and all of that was a campaign donation because, his lawyers basically didn't include it in some paperwork 34 times. So, so he gets 34 felonies, but yet there's nothing here. I mean, this seems like one of the biggest campaign donation, conspiracy workaround jobs in history. So it's just it's I don't know. It trips me out. I can't believe how actually there's no lawfare revolved or involved around it. You think there'd be some type of investigation or whatever, considering what it is. But I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, maybe that's just me reaching. I know these people, Trump and Kamala, are going on people's other shows, but these podcasts and things. But like when Trump went on Joe Rogan, it's unedited. You don't even need a transcript, but yet 60 Minutes won't provide the transcript of Kamala's interview. So it's like not apples to apples. I don't know. We might have lost chat. I haven't seen chat move for a minute, but
I was going to say you bring up the case and the damages. It makes me think. I think it was a few days ago. Russia is suing Google for like 10 decatillion.
Yeah, the number that we never even talk about. Yeah.
It's just like some insane amount that like it's never going to be adjudicated. But maybe they're doing it like as an affront to ensure that Google never operates like in Russia ever
in Russia
again.
Yeah. TNT scared them off. Well,
We're not getting the usual Kamal voters coming in from my chat either.
Right. Right. Let's see here. What else have we got? Oh yeah, I wanted to play this because you said that you might have a different take on this. This one is a gay guy saying that he'll be voting Trump and Vance, and so let's just play this and then we'll react. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up here, but I wanted to share this and then another guy's take as well. So I feel like they're spinning a narrative that if you're cut from a certain cloth, you have to vote one way or another, and I like seeing these instances and whatnot. So, anyways,
I wouldn't be surprised if me and Trump won just the normal gay guy vote, because again, they just wanted to be left the hell alone, and now you have all this crazy stuff on top of it that they're like, well, no, we didn't want to give pharmaceutical products to 9-year-olds who are transitioning their genders. We just wanted to be left the hell alone.
Me, normal, that's pushing it, but you got my vote. Vance is right, because the movement, which was once a movement for equality, has now turned into a movement of wanting privilege. Because no, I'm not down for the kids medically transitioning. Let kids be kids and stop introducing trans ideologies to them at such a young age. And the mess that pride has become, act like you were brought up correctly, and if you weren't, teach yourself how to conduct yourself accordingly in public settings, because nobody wants to see all that. I'm not down with trans women competing in women's sports or entering women's spaces, especially when women come forward and vocalize how it makes them uncomfortable. And the majority of people don't give a fuck about your gender identity or sexual orientation, so stop making it everybody's business. I personally would like to blend with society, or how Vance put it, just be left alone. He gets it, he understands it, and for that reason, yes, this gay man will be voting for Trump and Vance. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.
what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are not anti it. More so, my thought process when watching this is first that I guess I am glad that there's a population of the gay community that can look at the hormone blockers and the insanity for what it is and be like, hey, like this is too far. Like you can't be going and targeting after kids. But my overall thought looking at the macro of this, and along with a few other things, especially, Vivek's been on a tour and he said this multiple times, we want you to be free to who you marry. It just, for me, it exhibits the fact, really demonstrates it rather, that the Republican Party is no longer the party of like true Christian conservatism. It's actually moved to a position that's closer to like libertarianism. And I can still sit here and say that's definitely better than anything that Kamala Harris has got on the table.
Yeah.
But it's like a dark side, I guess, in the back of my head, which is, we've allowed, because they've went so hard left, we've allowed the Overton window to be pulled, and it pulled a lot of people with them to the left, to the point where the true idea of a right wing just doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Now, sure, there's some of those individuals that still remain inside the Republican Party, people like namely really only like Charlie Kirk, but outside of that, you look at the addition of RFK, you look at the addition of Tulsi Gabbard, you look at the addition of Vivek, we're kind of adopting and bringing in to the Republican Party, which was normally the party of Christian conservatism. It's now moving into a position where it really truly exemplifies that saying, which is they're liberals just like moving slower. And so it's like, how long then, people make these memes all the time too, where it's like, how long until, in 10, 12 years, the argument's like, okay, you can give your kids hormone blockers, but like they at least have to consent to it. And it's like, how much more ground are we going to give up,
right,
moving in this direction before, we really can't even say there's a right wing. It's really just like a battle of like two liberal kind of ideals.
It's
so I
the
really only
slow.
say that. I
Go
was just
ahead.
going
Go
to say,
ahead.
the only reason I say that truly is because I think if you were asking me, a large way to identify a lot of the issues with like just the hedonism and degeneracy that we see exhibit across the board with people does come from a place of we've moved away from Christian principles. Not that like we've went delusional, it's just that like there's no real foundation. And if the foundation is just leave me alone, that doesn't move us in a positive direction towards like getting rid of the stuff. Because if the idea and principle is just leave me alone, well, then if you use that principle, then who's to stop you then if parents do consent to giving puberty blockers to their children, right? Because you can't use then that principle to say, hey, you shouldn't do that. But the principle stands, they're not bothering anybody. Why shouldn't they be allowed if the parents consent? And so that's where I kind of like have a stick with that.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. It's the slow moving, slippery slope. What started like there's the fast moving slippery slope, and then there's the slow moving slippery slope, essentially, and that's the the kid version of it. You know what I mean? The kiddie slide or whatever. But eventually, it is technically it is sliding that direction, like you said, like on the macro. So
You might be even familiar with this post. There's a Reddit post. Oh, go ahead. My bad.
I was just gonna say because when it comes to winning an election, understanding that Christians versus the rest of the country is probably a minority, right? There's fewer Christians than 50%, or you know what I mean? Than 50% of the country, and so when it comes to winning an election, even with the Electoral College not needing the popular vote, still being able to win the election, if the right wing or the conservative side or the Republicans were solely Christians, wouldn't look good for Republicans ever to win an election.
Yeah.
So there has to be, when it comes to winning an election, more than that, more than just Christians. So
it's like a cultural thing, right? It's like you have to win the culture back before you can actually try to impose it like politically. And so that I agree with. I'm not going to go so far as to say not to vote for Trump for these reasons, because I think that's going too far.
Right. But when you say that, I do see and understand how slowly, like I said, it's like the slow moving slippery slope was what popped into my head. That Christian based conservative value is fading away slowly but surely, and on a long scale and a grander scale, won't go away, but just become even a greater minority. It doesn't seem to be moving back the other way, especially as the
Forgive me.
Sorry, no, you're good. I'm just thinking through, especially as the left seems to take more ground. I mean, I'm not the one that came up with this, but the left, the Democrats, their ground game is on point. They take over the cities. They can hit up 15 apartments in New York in an hour or 30 minutes versus out in the rural. You got to get in your car and drive for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes to go to 2 houses. If you're talking about knocking on doors and things like that. So Yeah. So it's just, and then of course the cities are going to have the majority of the population with the density versus folks out in the rural country areas. So I mean, yeah, it's a shame. Pray for revival. That's for sure. I mean, that's one thing that God is in control. You have our free will and everything, but I mean, ultimately, we can pray for revival and hopefully, we can get back to a stronger conservative base. But it kind of all begins with Jesus, and that's not the easiest thing, especially to reach people. So I mean, shout out to all
Right.
the churches and the pastors and everybody out there that's spreading the word. Definitely, we need that.
Yeah, and that's what I would concede. I think it's a losing fight right now, especially when you do look at the culture, like trying to like force the election, and like especially like if we go to a singular issue, right, like on abortion, like that is a losing issue. There would be a lot of people who would have been in the Republican Party, who are pro-choice but agree with everything else and against what the left is. Um, but there's signs, particularly I think it's with Orthodoxy Christianity, and that's just one of the numbers I can think of in my head. In America, I think in 2019 there was only 500 or 600,000, and now where we are in 2024, there's like 6 or 7 million. And so if you follow some of like the younger generation metrics for like younger men especially, it's the first time in like a long time that younger men actually are more religious than women, or at least those who are like vocal about it. So with polling numbers too.
Mhm.
But to speak to the slippery slope, there's a popular Reddit post, and I saw it floating around on X the other day, and it was one that was famous for during the Obama presidency, early I think 2008, and it particularly spoke to the fact of like it was a pie chart, and it was like things that will happen if homosexual marriage is I forget the language they use, if homosexual marriage is allowed in the United States, and it
Legalized or whatever,
yeah,
right?
legalized. And the pie chart's all blue, and you can see the color code, right? So the blue is like gay people will be allowed to be married. But what's funny is it's like there's a red underneath it, and the red is World War III. There's a yellow underneath that, and it's like people will try to have relationships with kids. And then there's like another one, and I can't remember what that is. And it's
It's
like all of those
bestiality.
things have now happened. Yeah. Like all of these things have now happened now. And so, I think Seamus is someone who's a bit more ardent on the slippery slope issue than I would be.
Right.
But I think that there's a certain validation that happened when homosexual marriage was legalized. And it does beg the question, like when you give validation to this or credibility to this, then what's the next man up? And then you're going to
Right.
get the next group of people who are like, well, what about us? And it only kind of is going to go that direction, especially if there's no kind of principle to be positive or negative about why or why shouldn't.
Right. That makes me think of like when it comes to drawing lines and saying don't cross the line, people are always going to cross the line. So you have to toe the line and stop it right there. Otherwise, things will proceed. It's just inevitable. So without
Yeah.
folks, when you legalize something, then you're not really drawing the line. You're just allowing the next step, essentially. And so it's, that's what leads to
Yeah.
the slippery slope because then they, it's like in a riot. Or it's like how a peaceful protest turns into a riot. The first guy goes up to the door of the store and shakes it and realizes it's locked, runs away. The next guy
Yeah.
goes up there with a brick and smashes the window and runs away. The next guy goes up there and smashes it again, and then all of a sudden the window's gone, you know what I mean? And then the third guy runs up there and looks around and maybe runs away, maybe goes inside, and then all of a sudden everybody's going in.
Yeah. I forget what
and
that theory is called, but I've heard that a few times. It's like the oh man, it's like it's essentially tied to mob rule, right?
Mhm.
It's like no one wants to do it, but after that first person's done it, it's like like a look around. It's like now it's a little bit more easier to do in their minds. So takes less courage to do. It's like
Yeah.
second man up mentality.
Yeah, exactly. Then I wanted to play this one too. This was another dude that was saying why he's voting for Trump. Yeah. Go. And does it have anything up here? I'm voting for Donald Trump. No, it's just a guy saying, I don't know much about this guy's background. We can all
I'm not
speculate.
voting for Donald Trump because I think he's a perfect person. I'm not voting for Donald Trump because I think he's never made a mistake. I'm not voting for Trump because I think he's some kind of a holy man. I'm voting for Donald Trump because I remember how strong America was when he was in office, because of how affordable everything was, groceries, gas, rent, utilities, mortgages. Our economy was thriving, and our enemies cowered and ran. Trump was the first president of our lifetime to not start a new war. I'm also voting for Donald Trump because of the people who oppose him. The people who promise time and time again to make our lives better, but instead enrich themselves. The people who actively start new wars and force the American people to foot the bill. The people who scorned us for wanting to attend church and be with our families on the holidays, but allowed violent criminals to burn down our cities and even help bail them out of jail. The people who call us garbage and deplorable while covering up each other's crimes. The people who try to assassinate and imprison their political opponents. I'm voting for Donald Trump because he doesn't have to do any of this. He could quit tomorrow, pack up his things, his family, and live his twilight years in luxury. I'm voting for Donald Trump because I love my country and my fellow citizens. We got 4 more days, America. Let's make our country great again.
It's that pattern recognition, TNT. You're around it all the time. You just got a feeling for
it. That's funny. I think it was Portland. I try to remember this, but I think it's Portland or maybe it's Oregon where like they said like a quarter or 50% of the registered Republicans have already voted. Maybe you can weigh in on that, TNT, but I was really impressed to find out that so many Republicans are out there voting early. I think it's great.
Yeah, I was looking at voter turnout stuff earlier today, and I was surprised. There's like one state that has like 67% of its expected turnout already in from like early voting. I can't remember what state that was.
I wouldn't be surprised if me.
Oops, sorry about that.
It also makes me think too. You've probably seen this discussion as well, with people kind of being mad, like with men, like not turning out to vote as much as women. So you've seen like a lot of these people, like the Ashley St. Clairs and like Normie McDonald's and a few other pundits being like, we're going to lose this election because men aren't coming out and voting. And what people don't realize is like, I even made a post about this earlier. Since like the 1980s, female turnout has been greater than men for like now almost like 40 years now at this point. And a lot of that too, especially because somebody who's like, what do you call myself? Very good, very ardent follower of Jeff Younger and a group of people like that, where the disenfranchisement of men cannot be understated. There's a lot of men who could care less, for lack of better words, like they just literally don't care. For better or worse, right? I think it's in their best interest to care, right? Because as much as you don't want to care about politics cares about you. But it kind of makes me think, we wait until like the final minute of the final hour and be like, wait, like men aren't showing up, and it's like, you had a good 4 years to kind of like, maybe attempt to reach them in a better way, and to then come into like the final minute and be like, and now be mad that they're not turning out when it's followed a pattern for the last 44 years. It just seems kind of, what's the word, shallow, or like not involved or not understanding of what some of these true issues are. And I think that speaks to, again, bigger problems that we're facing culturally, especially when you look at like the male female dichotomy and like the gender war, if you would call it. And that's happening on 110 different levels, from marriage to dating to all of that. And there's a lot of young men who, I even speak to on my channel and connected with, who are just very downtrodden on the outlook for themselves, whether it's in the face of like war, or whether they look at the dating market and they're very like, I guess, rather disgusted with what they have to see in front of them. And I think all those things kind of tie into this kind of like black pilling that you see. And it's hard, and don't get me wrong, I think for a lot of men who may not have the qualities that would be seen as super masculine, or maybe victims of what RFK is going against, which is just super processed food, lack of role models in like the church and things of that nature, like they have probably put themselves in a position that's very undesirable. And so a lot of the burden does remain on them to get themselves out of those positions. But it's just it's very depressing to look back at like the younger the younger men and see such a disenfranchisement of like not wanting to be involved, even when we are like in a very, very significant election with a president that, we've only seen once in our lifetimes, that's like putting out things that like we can actually be excited for. And so there's still a lot of work to be done, so I say all this just to, once we do get Trump in, it's like the battle's not over. It's like we have to keep pushing, and I think that's when you need to get harder pushes to be like, now what's next? Like, what do we fix next? What do we end? Once the border does get cleaned up, now what next? And you just keep moving, because there's so much, and a lot of it goes, through the cracks, unfortunately.
Abolish the 3-letter agencies.
Yeah, the DOE, I think is one of the most specific ones. The Department of Education needs to go. I think one of the first ones. Just immediately get rid of it.
I mean, pretty much every single one I can think of.
ATF, FBI, CIA, all of them just gone. And whoever got Peanut too, like that department goes first.
For real, right? Some messed up. Those dudes all need to get fired. I was gonna say, I saw here you had topic left to add was the Tucker Carlson thing on demons. Did you?
Yeah, did you see that? I can pull it up. I have it.
I saw some headlines, and I was trying to wait till I had time to actually watch it. But if it's fairly quick, we should check that out. While you're trying to pull that up, it's 4 minutes long. You got it pulled up?
Yeah.
Or while you're searching, I wanted to actually show this little clip too, and we'll do these last two things, and then we'll wrap it up for the night. But let's start with this one real quick, because I believe this woman is Lily Tang Williams. I believe she's been on Timcast IRL a couple times, and she escaped communist China, I believe is what it is. I might be wrong. This might be a different person, but she looks very similar to me, and so that's who I thought it was.
Whoa.
That's what I thought it was when I first saw and heard her. But I wanted to play this clip because New Hampshire's 2nd congressional district race is wild. Democrat Maggie Goodlander had no idea what hit her after Republican challenger Lily Tang Williams went on a rampage. So let's play this rampage, because I have a feeling it's going to be a schooling. Here, let me drop this off here so the one woman's not covered up. Okay, play that and take that off.
And hope for the best. Hope that the results will trickle down to hardworking people. I take a very different approach. I believe that the middle class deserves a tax cut, and I believe that we will do a lot for this country by ensuring that we don't continue this disastrous tax policy.
Mr. White.
You are wealthy. You're worth $20 million to $30 million. How do you know about regular people suffering? Do you go shopping, go to Walmart, buy food? I talk to those people. And you pretend to be Render Inexua a few months ago, move back to run for this open seat with millions of dollars from Washington, D.C. insiders. And the millions of dollars. I don't have money to run a TV ad. And you pretend you are poor, complain rent is so high. You couldn't save that apartment for other people to rent in Nashua. Just go back to your $2 million home in Portsmouth. Please don't say that, because you do not understand regular people's concern. People cry in my arms when they hit you.
That's beautiful. I remember right as we played it, she's the lady who works with the China Uncensored group.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are like that watchdog group with a lot of stuff that China does.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's the same woman, because I remember her last time she was on Timcast IRL. She was saying that she's going to run for a position, and bro, just owned. You got $20 million. You live in a $2 million home. I don't got money to run a TV ad. I hope she wins, man. I hope she wins.
How are you a 1%er being like, man, rent is so high? It's like,
I can sympathize. Where's the $800 Tiffany earrings like Kamala's always wearing, right?
Yeah.
It just proved that they're tone deaf.
She's like, honey, get my peasant rags. I'm going on TV tonight.
For real. Let's go shop. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but let's go shop at the Goodwill for an outfit. Not that that's even a Goodwill outfit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. I was getting her confused with the girl who escaped North Korea. She's a lot younger, I think, the one that escaped North Korea.
Oh, okay.
That's the one where her mom took her to get trafficked because they knew that would be a way out of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember she was talking.
Really messed up story.
I think I remember part of her story was she lived so close to the neighboring country they could see like the city from where she lived or whatever. And she like eventually just like, didn't she like take her brother with her or something, her little brother with her? Or maybe I got that story wrong.
If I remember right, it was her and her mom.
Okay.
And they tried taking off, but it was only her that made it. I can't remember why the mom didn't make it, but it was only her. And then she was like, the South Korean police or whoever was out there at the border, like got her and like brought her in, and it was really rough. Because if I remember right, they either beat her mother and then like I don't know if she passed away or not, but I don't think she's got any communication with her anymore.
Yeah. Dang, that's crazy. Dang. So were you able to pull up that Tucker thing? I wanted to show that. I thought that
Yeah.
was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I got the 4-minute one they put on X.
Okay, go ahead and put that in the oh, there it is. Sorry, I had to scroll down.
No, you're good. This is the one that was causing people like controversy because it was like a for anybody who already thinks like the Bible's fiction, like this the way that this story is going to come off is going to seem like super over the top. And there's even people in like the Christian community who are like, they don't believe it, and depending on what denomination you're from, you have different rules and such. But
right.
This follows like the Tucker Carlson journey, essentially, where he's slowly moved from being like, yeah, there's a lot of bad going on, to like, no, it's a spiritual battle. It's like it's good versus evil, and he's like seeing that more clearly. I think he explained that a bit well on the Joe Rogan show, especially when they were talking about Project Bluebeam and like what he believes the entities to be, rather than being aliens, but like actual connected to the Earth and being demonic and such.
Right. He was kind of reluctant to actually like say fully what he believed, it seemed like to me. Or was that just how he was leading up into it? It seems like apparently he's kind of loosening up that stance and coming forward a little bit more. Real quick.
Yeah, I think
I got to take a bite of this cookie, but before I take a bite of this cookie, I got to show you guys this thing because I decorated that.
Nice.
It's gonna get ruined here in a second, but
gotta appreciate it first.
Yeah, Kamala does have the power to deem herself as president. She could invoke the 25th Amendment against Biden.
I'm surprised they haven't done that already.
I know. I had expected it. I thought that they were going to actually do a thing where, Trump's been marketing himself as the 47th president, and then she would actually 25th Amendment Biden, and she would become the 47th president and screw up Trump's branding for that. But I mean, we're a couple of days out. It would be pretty crazy. I mean, I guess she still could. She could still do it all the way up till he's inaugurated, or if Trump wins, at least he's inaugurated. But also, I expect, just in that note, a bunch of pardons to come if Trump wins here in the next couple months from Biden.
Yeah, they were speaking about Hunter Biden being pardoned too, which I think is a bit too far.
Well, I think Trump even said he would pardon Hunter, which was pretty bold step. But that's an Ian Crossland old school take. He's like, we gotta draw bridges and make peace with our foes or whatever. But if she certifies election results, true.
If it was anything but, like, I could handle the kind of like the crack cocaine stuff. But when there's allegations of like with minors and such, I think that goes a step too far.
Yeah, the laptop needs to be 4 years later. Good grief. Talk about rules for thee and not for me, right?
Yeah, thank you, big tech.
For real. Okay, go ahead and play this video. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Got it.
Do you think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh yeah, I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism, or just
in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left.
Is that right?
Claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. 1.5 years ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and
still there.
Breathed. I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in, and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was just in my boxer shorts, and I went and flipped on the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms and on my left shoulder, and they're bleeding.
Wait, they were bleeding.
They're bleeding, yeah. They're actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails. And they didn't fit my hands anyway. But yeah, that happened. So I'm not from a world where things like that happen. I never heard of anything like that happening before. I had no idea what that was. I knew it was spiritual immediately.
You did? Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yeah. I don't understand to this day. I'm not going to put.
You didn't try to refute the spiritual part in your own mind. You went right into the.
Well, it didn't make any sense, and it doesn't now. But I'm not from a, what do they call it, faith tradition that talks about things like that or even acknowledges their existence. Like, there's nothing like that. I've never heard anybody say anything like that in my whole life.
What was the next day like?
Well, the next morning I woke up and I thought that was the weirdest dream I've ever had. And then I saw blood on my sheets and I realized that was not a dream at all. I called my assistant. It was like the only evangelical Christian I know, well enough to call with something bizarre like that, totally bizarre like that. And she said, "Oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, people are attacked in their bed by demons." What? What are you even talking about?
The Tucker laugh.
So
I love it.
I'm not leaving anything out, and I'm not pretending to understand that. I can only say what happened to me, and that did happen to me. And then I was seized with this very intense desire to read the Bible, which I then started without any study aids or anything. I bought a Bible that didn't have any. I'm not interested in editorializing in the Bible. I just want to read it and see what's in there myself. I have very low levels of trust for Christian pastors, most of whom, I'm just not a fan at all. And sorry to say that, but that's how I feel. And so I don't want to hear other people's opinions. I just want to see what's in there. And so I spent a year and a half reading it, and then I started rereading it. And it was just a transformative experience for me, but I'm not, holding myself out as someone from whom you could get theological advice, because I'm not.
Of course.
I don't know. I don't understand any of it. But yeah,
Do you
that
think
happened.
God
to me.
allowed the demon?
I have no idea what happened. All I know is I was dead asleep with my wife and dogs, and I woke up with claw marks on my rib cage underneath my arms, and it didn't even make sense. My arms would, anyway, whatever. No one has to believe me. I don't care. But that happened to me, and so I just was like, wow, that's real. Whatever that is, I'm even not sure what it is.
But very real. And so then that presence of that evil launches something.
Dang.
Yep.
I saw this comment here. I'm not a hellfire and brimstone Christian, but I'm not saying they're wrong. That makes me reminds me of one of my former pastors. It was the church that I went to before I moved across country. He said something that was so obvious, but I hadn't heard it worded this way, and I'm gonna butcher it. But he asked the congregation, "Are you guys like supernatural, or whatever? Do you guys believe in the supernatural?" And my mind went to like aliens and I don't know, more of like a Bigfoot, yeah, more of like a fictional, cultural kind of supernatural, right? And he's like, "Well, if you believe in God and Jesus and angels and demons and everything that's in the Bible, you are 100%. You believe in the supernatural." And I'm not saying it as well as he did, but I think you get the point, right? Yep. And that was a Vineyard church, and if anybody's familiar with Vineyard, they're pretty in tune with like spiritual gifts, and like you said, it kind of depends on your what particular
like sector denomination.
Church, yeah, sector denomination. Like if you're Baptist and you're different beliefs, then whatever. But so they'll speak in tongues. They pray for each other, pray for healing, laying on of hands, that type of stuff. That's the type of church that they were. And I just it's one of those things where it's like you don't really have to be like a fire and brimstone Christian, but it was one of those things where I had like kind of that realization moment that like, yeah, I am a supernatural, I do believe in the supernatural or whatever, it's not aliens, it's what's written in the Bible essentially. And so it was an interesting Revelation. And then I see here that Hillbilly said, I know that good and evil both exist. Yeah. And, I think Earth is the only place that evil can exist. So, when it comes to what Tucker Carlson just said right there, sleeping in his bed was obviously on Earth. And so that was one of those things that, possibly would be real. I believe him. I don't know. What do you think? Do you believe Tucker Carlson there, or do you think he has, like,
I think I would
thought
actually
that he was
just echo
scratched
what
by
he
some
says,
branches?
which is, I as well versed as I am, especially here recently, especially if you're not even just from historical Christianity, but probably not the person that should be giving out like theological advice, especially because I'm not in any way, what's the word, ordained by any means.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, the expression that he gives there, especially knowing his entire history, to take such a 180, you got to ask the question, like, what's in it for him? If we're going to just
Right.
even try to explain this away, like from a secular standpoint, these things do happen. And exactly what Jessica is saying here, like they're very real. And modern society just tries to explain them away.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, I guess, in the best way to say it really is we've gotten to a point in modern society that is so moved far away from the realities of what is and it is in the Bible, even though it's a few thousand years, it's still a very long time to human beings, that we don't even know what they are anymore. It's hard to tell. It's like trying to explain to somebody what the USS Enterprise is without ever being able to show them a picture of it.
Mhm.
And so you can only get so far with illustrations before actual like firsthand experience must take the place of it. And so we're kind of in this position where, because we have gotten to a point where there's been a large amount of work and labor been done to try to take this position that everything that's in the Bible is fiction and that it should be treated as such, we've kind of poisoned the minds of average and everyday people that it's taken such a bit of credibility away, that what could, as we just talked about before we watched the video, what could be explained instead of aliens and the like, as actually being like spiritual presences, whether they're good or for evil,
Yeah.
to exist in the light that the Bible depicts them in. And it's very easy to do retroactively, especially as a Christian, to like retrace that and be like, oh, wait, that makes a lot of sense. But for somebody who's not ever given the Bible any bit of credibility, to hear something like that, they just sort of like, they kind of laugh at it because they already view it in a fictitious way of like, oh, like this is just some story tale stuff. And they view it
Yeah.
as like some like mumbo jumbo. But I do definitely believe it into being very real. And I think for me in particular,
I wish they would have showed the marks. That would have been cool if you like showed these crazy marks they had on his shoulder or something.
right. I guess for me in particular, there's one picture that kind of has been in my head for quite some time. And in comparison to this peanut, the squirrel thing too, they euthanized this squirrel. But there's a lady, a black individual, a black woman, who killed a 3-year-old white kid. And the court, while they're sentencing her to literally nothing, they actually sent her to a hospital. She's smiling at everybody.
Hmm.
And there's certain kind of, I guess, evidence in things such as that I think is so over the top and apparent that people can be possessed to do things that are beyond your understanding that would be so evil. Because, for example, even if you weren't the most ardent Christian, but you hear the teachings of the Bible, the average person still would be like, I could never harm a person like that, even if they weren't like fully had given themselves to Jesus, because there's a part of them that goes, I wouldn't be able to live with myself, and that's unconscionable to do. Like I could never do that. Like I could never cross that line, even if you weren't like, oh, I believe in Jesus, right? But for some people, it's seemingly like so easy. It's like they can do it. And that's not to say that there's just like people are bound to do these things, but it's more so to say that evil has many, many forms. And I
Hmm.
think in a modern day society like this, it's so easy to see. And I would take it to like the abortion argument, right? Like we've gotten to a point where 65 million kids are killed in the womb every year.
Yeah.
And so you were to compare that to like something like slavery, and this might be a hot take. I think it's like a speck, right? Like the evils of slavery compared to killing 65 million children a year, but we don't even we don't even give it half the credence that people do with slavery. Is like, how do you get to such a warped position, right? Like, how is there not like a hierarchy of viewing these things? And to me, I guess for myself, it's very easy to see that. And I think for others, it may be just hard to understand, because not hard to understand, but that it's less easy to see from that perspective, because they're not as well versed into Christianity. Maybe they didn't grow up with it. So when you're not as well versed in it, it's a bit easier to obfuscate and not see it as for what it is.
Right. It's been given a stigma, and not a really a positive stigma. And like I've made the point before that, you know, atheists or a lot of folks on the left or whatever, I'll even say, because it kind of seems like it's one and the same. When they find out that you are a Christian or that you believe in God, they think you're stupid. They think that you're ignorant, and they put themselves on a pedestal higher than you, because to them, you believe in something stupid and fake. You know what I mean? So it's just really weird. It's I don't know. It's to me, it's just another example of how, to your point about comparing slavery to abortion, and ironically, the left is obviously very anti. I mean, everybody's anti-slavery, right? But they're not anti-abortion.
Yeah. Right.
To a conservative, or maybe not to a conservative, but to a Christian, maybe it's to both, can recognize that both are wrong, both are evil. So I don't know. It's
Yeah. TNT even saying here, we abort, how many Holocausts a year. I
Yeah.
think that's something that's even becoming a bit more mainstream. The more that we people have kind of challenged the post-war World War II consensus, and just like you see it. I mean, we see it. It's every day we deal with it, honestly, right? So it's like
talk about the
Donald
numbers
Trump is
game.
Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you wanted to go hard numbers, right? You take 6 million compared to 65 million. But just think of like, the worst person on the planet isn't Satan, it's Hitler. It's like this human example. It's like, how have we characterized, like, you could even think of like comic book villains that are worse than like, Hitler, that have committed more atrocities. There's like so many other places that we could go, but it's like we're tethered to this one instance in history that happened now at this point close to 80 years ago.
80 years ago, yeah.
And like that seems to be more of like the religion of the time compared to like what I think it should be. And that's not to excuse anything that happened. That's to say, at what point then were like the mainstream beliefs and priorities and principles like hijacked onto something else, and now we view things from a lens that's like very warped.
Right. Well, I mean, it's to your point. If you are out there and you're saying I'm anti-abortion, you somehow get labeled bad by the left. You know what I'm saying? You're against women's health care rights, or however they want to word it nowadays to try to make it sound fancy and good. But
yeah,
and you're the bad guys, and it's. I mean, I think it even says in the Bible somewhere that, near, I don't know if it's near the end times, but they'll call good evil and evil good, and
yeah. That's like end time revelations, right? There will be someone that comes to you, or it'll be paraphrasing the verse, but there will be a peoples that come to you and says, they'll say what is evil is good, and what is good is evil. The inversion of hierarchy and beliefs. The 65 million number I was referencing, I think, is like a global number. I could be entirely wrong on that too, but I do know it's in double-digit millions. It's like it's kind of an unfathomable number when you look at it and compared to other things.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole lot.
Yeah.
We can say it like that, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it's an aggressive amount.
Definitely. And so kind of ended on a serious note, but had a good show. Ran another 45 minutes longer than we normally do. Well, I guess actually about 2 hours and 45 minutes is kind of becoming the mark lately. So the last few weeks,
right.
I mean,
Joe Rogan numbers.
Yeah, right. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah. Hillbilly made a good point. The actual number will never be known because of illegal abortions were happening too.
Right.
Yeah. And TNT cycle. That's a great note to end it on there. Have babies and vote hard.
Vote hard. Yeah, I like that.
I like it. So appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for being live and chat and everything like that. Always have a good time talking to you guys. It's good seeing some familiar faces and learning to know some of you folks and everything. TNT Cycles, you're cracking me up all night. A lot of good comments. Appreciate the contribution, honestly. And you can find me on X. My account is Warrol, WARROL. And of course, I'm the host of America First TV here on YouTube. And then you want to let them know where they can find you? We'll go ahead and wrap it up.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Atlas Thugged, and then you can find me on X at Atlas_Thugged_. I'm trying to stream to both. Kind of a plan eventually. You know, I say this often. A lot of my opinions have kind of moved to the outside of what is acceptable on YouTube. So I expect, hopefully, I don't actually brush up against the wall and get a strike, because I think I've already gotten 2, I believe. So I think the third one will kind of nuke my channel out. If that happens, you can catch me on Rumble or you can catch me on X. I'll probably make my living there.
Yeah. Hopefully, you know, Elon's future looks bright when it comes to what's coming with X. So hopefully both platforms can eventually be sources of income and information and all that type of stuff. So anyways, appreciate everybody. This has been the Jar Openers Podcast, episode 11. Had a great time, and we'll see you guys next Saturday at 8 p.m. Hope to see you guys there.
Yes, sir. Peace out, everybody. Christ is King.
Yes, sir. Christ is King.
Let's roll and Atlas Thugged. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Thugged. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas Thugged, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas Thugged, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.